Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day. What's up, Shawn Ryan? How are you, man?
How's it going?
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I really enjoy your show. It's very different. Like I was like when I first started watching, I was like, oh, this guy's fucking interviewing all kinds of crazy people. Like I like you like a Navy SEAL Art Bell. It's kind of cool, man. You know, like because like you go out there with people like that one dude that was saying there's direct energy weapons in Antarctica. And
yeah,
you're letting that guy go out. He's going out on a long ass pier.
Oh yeah, Eric Hecker.
All those stories are so crazy. I was just finishing. Is it John Alexander? Is that the gentleman that worked with like UAPs and unidentified phenomenon and
He's
mysteries?
done it all.
Fascinating.
He's done it all.
Fascinating. All the way back to Vietnam, right?
Yeah, yeah.
That guy, what a crazy story, man. You imagine being involved in that kind of shit?
I don't know. Yeah.
How much do you believe it, though? Like, it's like, when I hear the UFO stuff, there's a part of my brain that's like, don't get suckered into this. This shit's nonsense. There's something that, it just feels like if they told me a super volcano was going to erupt, I would believe it. Because super volcanoes are definitely real, and there's a historical precedent. They've ruined civilizations. They tell me that there's UFOs, and part of me is just like, I don't fucking believe you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. You know, I mean, you know what bothers me about the whole camp is none of these camps like talk to each other.
Right.
It's my camp knows everything.
Isn't that always the case, though? That's
Yeah,
the case in the military often,
oh,
right?
yeah, I was going to compare it to special ops. But that guy doesn't know shit. I know that's kind of how.
When I was real young, I was like 24, I was dating this girl that was, she did something in government, and she was explaining to me, so this is pre-internet-ish, you know, like people didn't have the internet then. It's like early 90s, right? And she said that she one of her jobs was to make sure that information that the Navy had received would be available to the Army. So, like, you have to make sure people aren't running redundant tests. Like, we already did this. We'll get you this information. So there was, like, some sort of a database in, like, these computer terminals where she could share information. And she had some sort of top clearance. And one day, like, just fucking around, she wrote little green men in the search function. And her computer got shut down, and then people visited her. And they asked her, like, what are you doing? Like, why'd you look this up? Like, what is this all about? And I think she wound up either getting fired or transferred to some other position or lost whatever clearance that she had.
Interesting.
But
I've not heard that one.
When I was young, I was like, whoa, aliens were real. But as an older man, now looking back on it, I go, well, maybe what she was doing was inappropriate for her job. Like, maybe what she was doing was demonstrating that she couldn't be trusted because she's doing something that's not, there was no request to look up little green men.
Yeah.
It was like, she did it on her own. Like,
Is this 100% factual?
hard to tell.
You know, it's
Hard
just,
to tell because it was a girl I dated. I don't really know.
Oh, you dated her?
Yeah, I dated her. Yeah. This
Nice.
is, yeah, like I said, early 90s, I was living in New York. I had actually dated her in Boston, then we met up again in New York a couple of years later. So she was telling me about her job, and then she was telling me, like, check this out. And I was like,
I shouldn't be telling you this, but here.
cause back then I was all in on UFOs. I was like, wow, UFOs are real. But as an older man, I look back and go, well, if you have some kid, you know, she was basically my age. She's probably 24 as well. And you're having this kid work in these terminals that has access to top secret information and they have clearance. I would say, hey, maybe you shouldn't be just looking up shit randomly.
Yeah.
You know, like, we can't have this kid. We can't trust this kid.
You know, it doesn't seem like everything's so compartmentalized in government, and especially at that kind of classified, whatever, security clearance level. I mean, there's whatever. I didn't get that high up, but I've not seen like a database where you can just look anything up. Like, oh shit, who killed up JFK?
Right.
Let's look that up real quick. You know, it's.
Well, you know what Trump said about that one, right?
What did he say?
Trump said that if they showed you what they showed me, you wouldn't want to release it either.
Oh yeah, I did hear that.
Crazy. What a crazy thing to say.
Yeah.
That can only mean one thing in my eyes. That we did it.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes any sense is the United States did it.
I mean, more and more just keeps unraveling. You know?
Tucker just comes out and says it openly. He just says it openly.
Yeah.
CIA killed Kennedy. He has a crazy laugh. I don't know who could actually say it other than the people that have read those papers, and and who knows what the president is basically a part-time employee, not a part-time employee, but a short-term employee. If you got a long-running business, and for some technicality, every now and then you have to bring in some fucking CEO, and he does a 4-year term, and then hopefully you can finagle it so he gets another 4-year term if he's playing by the rules, and you just bring him in.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah, why would you tell that guy who killed Kennedy?
Yeah, yeah.
They hid shit from him all the time, which is totally illegal.
What do you think about RFK's, possibly getting in to investigate all that stuff?
I think it would be one of the best things for the health of the people in the United States. If you really care about health, I think there's a lot of us, and it was me at one point in time, and I've gotten more educated about it. A lot of us are very ignorant about what we're doing to our bodies with food and with medications.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're being told the truth. And I think there's a reason why multiple other countries have banned food elements, food like ingredients that we use all the time. These red dyes, all these different things. And this was all, there was just a recent thing that they did. Who was involved in that? Brigham testified in that.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
This episode is brought to you by the Farmer's Dog. Dogs are amazing. They're loyal. They're lovable. Like, just having Marshall around can make my day 10 times better. And I'm sure you love your dog just as much, and you want to do your best to help them live longer, healthier, happier lives. And a healthy life for your dog starts with healthy food, just like it does for us. There's a reason having a balanced diet is so important. So how do you know if your dog's food is as healthy and as safe as it can be? Well, Farmer's Dog gives you that peace of mind by making fresh, real food developed by board-certified nutritionists to provide all the nutrients your dog needs. And their food is human grade, which means it's made to the same quality and safety standards as human food. Very few pet foods are made to this strict standard. And let's be clear, human-grade food doesn't mean the food is fancy. It just means it's safe and healthy. It's simple, real food from people who care about what goes into your dog's body. The Farmer's Dog makes it easy to help your dog live a long, healthy life by sending you fresh food that's pre-portioned just for your dog's needs. Because every dog is different. And I'm not just talking about breeds. From their size to their personality to their health, every dog is unique. Plus, precise portions can help keep your dog at an ideal weight, which is one of the proven predictors of a long life. Look, no one, dog or human, should be eating highly processed foods for every meal. It doesn't matter how old your dog is. It's always a great time to start investing in their health and happiness. So, try the Farmer's Dog today. You can get 50% off your first box of fresh, healthy food at thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Plus, you get free shipping. Just go to thefarmersdog.com/Rogan. Tap the banner or visit this episode's page to learn more. Offer applicable for new customers only. They had all these health experts testify, and they were all hammering this point over and over again. They were talking about the food additives. They were talking about glyphosate and how fucking dangerous glyphosate is, and like an enormous percentage of people show traces of glyphosate in their blood. We're getting it through all kinds of vegetables. It's ubiquitously sprayed on monocrop agriculture crops. We're all just consuming these poisons. There's no reason to have fluoride in the water. There's fucking no reason. We've been putting fluoride in the water. Oh, keep your teeth clean. You don't want cavities.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it forever. And there's no reason to do it. And there's like real data that shows that high levels of fluoride in water lowers IQ. The higher the fluoride is in water in certain areas, they can see a measurable dip in people's IQs.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Have you messed around with have you heard of the Yucca app?
No.
Dude, you got to get the Yucca app.
What is it?
So you basically scan anything, like food related.
It's
soap,
YUKA?
deodorant.
How do you spell it?
I think it's YUCA. There it is.
Oh, nice.
There it is.
YUKA.
So
Shout out to Yuka.
There it is. See, like Honey Nut Cheerios. It'll tell you the additives in there.
It contains additives to avoid.
And
Sugar,
it'll tell you all the.
look at
It'll
that.
tell you all the chemicals and what the chemicals do to you.
Ah, that's genius.
Yeah, it's
What
pretty.
a great ad. No ads. All right, we just did an ad for them. Good for them, though, but
My bad.
that's what people need. I think if RFK gets in office, he will expose a lot of this stuff, just like he did when he was an environmental attorney. You know, people think of him as just the vaccine kook. Listen, you got to look at that guy's the history of that guy's work is all been about protecting people from corporations that are poisoning them.
Yeah.
That's literally what that guy did his whole career. And if he can do that with health, particularly with things that we can avoid. Look, one of the things they demonstrated is that Lucky Charms, as sold in the United States, they don't sell the same one in Canada. In Canada, the dyes that we use to make it all pretty and exciting for kids, they don't allow that because it's fucking toxic.
Yeah.
So we allow it, which means someone's corrupt.
Yeah.
Someone's corrupt.
Probably the whole system, maybe.
Probably the whole system is heavily influenced, at the very least. Forget about bribery. Let's not even say bribery. Heavily influenced by relationships that these people have with CEOs in these corporations and the boards of executives, and this weird little revolving door between the FDA and the CDC and all these different organizations, and then they leave, and then they get this amazing job working for some huge corporation that they were helping regulate just a few years ago. It's the most transparent thing. It should be. If insider trading is illegal, how's that legal?
Good point. I mean, does FDA approval even mean anything to you?
Not to me. It doesn't to me, but it took a long time before I got to that. It took a long time before I really understood, like, why do we think that saturated fat is bad? Oh, it was a lie by the sugar companies. Okay, why do people tell you that vitamin supplementation doesn't really help and you just need a balanced diet? Oh, because doctors don't know jack shit about nutrition, and that you're going to a guy who literally knows less than you because he went to medical school for how to fix knees or whatever the fuck he specialized in, and you're taking this guy's advice, and he doesn't know anything about nutrition. He's not read any peer-reviewed data. Yeah. That guy's just trying to keep up. He's got fucking bills piling in, and he's bringing people and shuffling them through the office, and he's worried about you have insurance in case you fuck up, malpractice insurance, and you have to pay your medical school bills, and those guys are barely they're floating. Yeah. They're trying to just run people through their office as fast as they can.
Does it bother you if there's some type of a new... Does it bother you if it's not FDA approved at all, if it's new? Like nobody's looked into it?
Well, I wouldn't take anything no one's looked at, especially a drug.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, give it some time, kids. Give it some time. I mean, how many times do they have to pull drugs before people... Like, what is the percentage of drugs that the FDA approves and then pulls? I believe it's 25%.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's 25%. See if that's true. So these are the ones that they approve, and then eventually they find out, oh, this stuff is terrible for you, and then they pull it.
Yeah.
I think it's 25%, which, what does it say? 1/3.
Oh, shit, 1/3.
1/3. I was off. According to the 2017 study, which is probably worse now, about 1/3 of drugs approved by the FDA within a 10-year period receive alerts, warnings, or recalls in the years following their approval. That's fucking bananas.
Wow.
So give it some time, kids.
Yeah.
Also, have you seen the Steven Crowder undercover thing he did with that COVID czar in New York?
No.
Have you seen that? Jamie, go to his page and find the most recent one. Because the most recent one is fascinating. Because in the most recent one, this guy is openly talking about how monkeypox is not really a threat, but they're trying to present it as a threat so they can sell this medication.
Interesting.
And they're talking about pushing this. This guy's openly talking about monkeypox is really just gay guys get it from unprotected. I'll let it.
Video on. That's not the video. That's the guy, though, right?
Yeah, is it on his Instagram? Go to it. I'll show you which one it is.
It's just not playing a video. Oh, maybe here.
Yeah, that's it. Is it?
Did it. The teachers union
No. That's not it. That's not it. That's the one where he's talking about how he shut the city down. There's a recent one. No.
That's the last one he played.
I know. Maybe it's somewhere else. Let me scroll down a little bit. See if you can find the one. See that one right there? That's kind of yellow. That's yellow
That's
there.
the one I played.
But which one? There's got to be one where he's talking about monkeypox. Because that was the one I was watching today. That's not, because that's all about shutting the schools down. God damn it, we got to find it. Okay, just find it and get to us. Because I know I might have watched it on X. I probably thought, I'm saying X now.
Yeah, good for
I
you.
feel politically correct. Like when I call a transgender person a girl, she. Like, you like that? How I did that? I said she.
Not this, where he's talking to him directly?
No.
Okay.
No, that's not it. That's Crowder confronting him when that guy's fired now. That guy's fucked. But the monkeypox one, god damn it, I know I saved it. If you want, I can find it. I saved it on my phone because I was like, this is just so bonkers. That these people are having conversations in public and openly admitting that they're trying to push people into taking drugs that don't even
Doesn't
work.
have a link to the video, though.
Really? Interesting. God damn it. This is going to be a problem. I'm not going to find it. If you just see if you can find it. It's got to be out there because I watched it this morning. Did you go monkeypox? Nothing?
It's going to be in one of these links. I just have to... It's going to take a second.
Oh, wait up. Hold on. Back up. Back up. That was right there. Right above that. Dr. J. Varna? Okay. This is it.
But it's not the same thing as last one. It's not... There's no link to the video.
Oh, so is it because the New York Post doesn't show it? That's okay. We can just read what it says because it's kind of interesting. We don't have to hear him say it. But Steven Crowder's kind of decided to do this James O'Keefe type deal. And I don't know how they do that. It's pretty wizardry.
Yeah.
You know, generally I think you get like a gay guy who likes to talk. and some handsome dude who can sit down with this guy and get him a little tipsy. That seems to be happening. Gay guys like to spill the beans. He previously served as senior health advisor to then Mayor Bill de Blasio, was tasked with running Big Apple's pandemic response. Okay, so he was talking about the approval process while discussing SIGA Technologies' Technovirament, or TPOX drug. So this is the drug for monkeypox. So that's why spinning it in the media is helpful. We want the FDA to approve our drug specifically for monkeypox, and right now it's only considered experimental, and they won't approve it, he said. And the U.S. TPOX is not approved by the FDA for treatment of Mpox, but can be used to treat patients as part of a clinical trial known as the Study of Technovirament for human Mpox virus, according to Cigna Technologies. The company's website added that the STOMP trial is being conducted to evaluate the efficacy of TPOX for the treatment of Mpox. Varna then griped that the video filmed on August 14th that his then employer is stuck with our drug, but the people aren't going to be as confident in it because the data doesn't look as strong as it should. And so then later he starts talking about the stock prices. So he says sometimes you do a study and this fucking nothing works at all, or people get really sick from it. He said in the covert recording, the problem is if you do another study, it'll take a year or two to do it because you have to get the ethics approval, you got to get the money, you got to get the patients to come in. In the videos, Varma then gloated about how he knows the reporters well and referenced a September interview with New York Times on Mpox, which touted the TPOX as a drug used to treat Mpox infection. He also described the World Health Organization's emergency authorization process before explaining how he wants the media to report on TPOX. So he was talking, one of the things in the video, he was talking about stock prices. So they're talking about making it look like these drugs do better than they do, getting people to prescribe them. Okay, hold on. Go down. Okay. So basically we're trying to get the media to say is, oh, the drug didn't work because it was designed the wrong way, so they're going to do another study and it'll probably work. And in the meantime, people just prescribe it as an emergency drug. That's what we want the story to be, which is wild to say out loud. And he said the risk of Mpox spreading in the U.S. is very low, and it's almost certainly going to stay among gay men. Yeah, so it's all just, it's supposedly... only like I don't think in America, like I think 4 people have died from it, which is you got to go hard.
That's it,
You
huh?
got to go hard. Died from that.
You quit right before they talked about the 10-person sex parties.
Oh yeah, that was another thing. That was when he got busted for having parties during the COVID lockdowns while he was encouraging the lockdowns.
Wow.
So you didn't hear that part?
No.
Oh, so Crowder got him on camera saying that he was doing Molly and partying and saying, I hope somebody doesn't see me doing this because I could get in real trouble because, obviously I reinforced the lockdowns.
Wow. I mean, surprising, but not,
Boy, everybody's eyes have been opened up over the last few years.
No
At least
kidding.
people that are trying to pay attention to how nutty the people are who actually run the show.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of people are. I mean, it's crazy. It's like everything you knew is just flipped upside down.
It's like a bunch of actors are running it. That's what it's like, because that's what they're really like. What politicians are like actors are not quite good looking enough to get into movies and television shows. They can't host Entertainment Tonight, but they can read off a teleprompter, and they can do a good look. Kamala Harris had one good read off a teleprompter, and she shot up in the polls. That's the power of just a performance when you want to believe something. You want to believe.
That's true. I mean, I don't believe anything anymore. I can't.
I was watching this. These guys were breaking down. They can track cell phones. They can figure out whose cell phone was there. They can get metadata. And they were talking about these Kamala Harris rallies, about how organized they are. These people are coming in on buses, and many of them have been to multiple rallies. And that when this one local one, 80% of the people came from somewhere else, and they were all bussed in. And,
How do they know that?
Well, I'll send this to Jamie because this one I actually have. But I think they know it because of you could track data on a phone now.
Oh, they're doing the geofencing stuff?
I don't know exactly how they do it, but they're doing something in which they can tell when your phone has been in an area. Okay, I found this guy's. I found his the other video. Yeah, here, I'll show it to you, Jamie, because it's even grosser hearing it come out of this guy's mouth.
This is an hour-and-a-half video on his YouTube channel that I think it's taken from.
Yeah, but this is the clip. I'm sending you the clip from Instagram for whatever. I don't know if Instagram's hiding it. I don't know what's happening, but
They wouldn't do
It
that.
was on. It's on his Louder with Crowder page. That's why.
oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. God, I hate looking up things on my phone in the middle of a fucking show, but sometimes you have to. So these guys, what they were showing is that here it is, that people, it's just very organized and people are being bussed in, and is that okay? Is that ethical? I mean, maybe just making it more convenient for them to go to the Kamala Harris rally. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But if you are organizing crowds, say if you do a game show, if you host a game show, Wheel of Fortune. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Those people are all paid. Most of them, or sometimes you let fans do it for a very popular show. But I have personally been on a lot of shows where the audience is paid. So
Interesting.
It's basically like if you're filming a sitcom, you can, and nobody knows what the sitcom is. There's a company that you can hire, and you pay the audience to come in, and the people cheer. They have an applause sign. Everybody cheers. They laugh when you tell them to laugh. There's a guy in the audience that's doing this to them that the people at home don't see. So it's all theater, right? So they could do that same strategy for a political rally.
Yeah.
Easily. If you're talking about all the money you're going to be in control of when you are the president of the United States, which is a spectacular position. Not just that, but then all the money you're going to make in appearances and forever, right? You're going to do Goldman Sachs talks and make $500,000 for no apparent reason. There's so much money involved. You don't think you would pay audiences to come and cheer? That's cheap.
Yeah.
That's cheap.
I don't know. Do you think that's immoral?
Well, I think we have very loose rules on what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do. There was a lot of outrage because people were saying that ABC somehow or another had gotten the subject matter to Kamala, and that they had agreed to Kamala that they were not going to ask her about her DA record when she was in California, and that they were not going to talk about some other person she was involved with that might be in trouble. and they weren't going to fact check her. And then they said they were only going to fact check Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Which is what led to her saying quite a few things that weren't true, and no one said anything about it, particularly about troops being deployed overseas.
Yeah.
Did you see that video where the troops, troops
No,
are like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I got a really good friend of mine that's deployed in overseas right now. And,
not according to Kamala Harris.
And, he's sniping bad guys over in Africa.
Yeah, how mad would he be if he heard that?
I mean, they're pissed.
I'm not in a war zone.
They're pissed.
They should be pissed. So this is from an Instagram account. I don't know what podcast this clip came from, but let's just play it.
Rally. 5,003 mobile devices at Kamala Harris's rally in Charlotte, North Carolina on Thursday afternoon. It appears over 3,600 came from Georgia, mainly Atlanta, Georgia, and approximately 720 from Savannah, Georgia. So that's a North Carolina rally with almost 80% of the attendees being from Georgia.
After you do the math, that's only 600 or so local people from North Carolina that attended. That's all who shows up, and you're planning to what, get 80-something million votes again? Something ain't right. And then all these people come from buses, and it's kind of weird because at the Trump events, you don't really have like organized buses like that. People just kind of show up and park on their own. But at the Kamala rally, there's just these lines of buses at every event, which is weird. And a lot of the people are also the same people that attend multiple rallies. Can you read those tweets?
Any of the same ones from previous events, because this guy's tracking the cell phones, I guess, and he says 90% have been to 3+ rallies, 54% were even at Arizona and Nevada rallies.
Now, it could be that she is so popular that it's like Swifties. They just follow her around. Or it could be like, the Grateful Dead was in the 1970s. Maybe that's what's going on. Maybe she's just so amazing all of a sudden. Maybe Stella got her groove. Something happened and she just kicked into gear and now she's her best self.
Yeah.
Her best self. She's going to be the president. Yay, let's go to these rallies.
I'm sure that's what's going on.
Could be that. It could. It could be that.
I don't think it's really immoral.
I don't think it's immoral.
It's just a rally.
Well,
everybody wants their rally to be full. I mean, it's a facade, man. It's just a facade.
If you can do it for a game show, you could do it for a political event. I don't think it's immoral. I think if they did give her the questions and they really did, and this is someone signed an affidavit. See what's going on with that. See what's the latest with that, Jamie. So someone signed an affidavit that was an ABC employee that claims these things. And it was very clear there was bias. It was very clear that they were fact-checking him and not fact-checking her. But it was, unfortunately, he doesn't do himself any favors because he kind of goes off the rails sometimes. They're eating dogs. They're eating cats. Which, by the way, they may very well be doing that. That's a thing they do in Haiti sometimes. Sometimes they sacrifice animals and, they have local rituals, religious rituals that they do.
I mean, this has been going on for a long time, though. Sometimes the Kung Pao chicken is a chicken.
Right. I mean, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. And to try to pretend that it's racist to say that, no. Humans sometimes will do things.
According to this, it says that this started with a claim that there was an affidavit, but I don't know that it's ever been actually presented to anyone.
Interesting. Didn't it get discussed on Twitter and people were posting about the veracity of it? I think Elon even put it on his. Colin Rugg, I know, had it on his. Yeah. I think it's probably going to be hard to tell unless charges are filed.
It made it to Congress, but it doesn't say that it was. I don't see.
Said it made it to Congress.
They talked about it, but
Bill Ackman. That's right. Bill Ackman was the guy who tweeted it. Didn't know if the claim was accurate, but shared it anyway, which is what's fun. It's fun to do on the internet. Vance addressed the supposed whistleblowers' allegations with reporters, saying it should be a national scandal if true. Trump again mentioned the whistleblower September 13th at a rally in Las Vegas, claiming that Harris had received the debate questions in advance. Fortunately, we had a leaker or a whistleblower. I don't care which. I love that person. The way he talks is such a Trump statement. Representative Dan Muser in Pennsylvania said in a Fox News interview that he would try to bring in ABC News and the whistleblower before Congress to testify about the affidavit.
And then they said that the person who did it was killed in a car crash, and that seems to be false.
Yeah, that was amplified by Marjorie Taylor Greene, who also doesn't do herself any favors. I think they do stuff like that. This is my take on that. When I saw all these people tweeting that the guy died in a car crash, I was like, that might be a trap. That one might be a trap.
Yeah.
Like, I think they do stuff like that. Well, they'll throw out a fake story and get people to share it, like, without looking into it at all, and it turns out to be complete horseshit, and it makes the whole thing look like horseshit now. Now it looks like makes the affidavit, it's at least connected to horseshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean, it's a good tactic.
Yeah. Smart tactic.
They got
Yeah.
a lot of good tactics.
They're very organized, which is really interesting. And that's one of the things about Trump is that he's so dominant and he's so swing from the hip that no one can kind of corral him, And it seems like she's really open to being coached. Like, some of these speeches are very different than any speeches she's ever given before. And you see the difference between that and then, like, did you see the Oprah interview?
No.
She's off the rails.
Yeah.
Off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
But Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
Oh, man.
It's like when you get her off the rails and she is, it's kind of fucked up, right? Because that's not the job. The job is not being able to sound cool in an interview with Oprah. That's not the job. But that's the most important part about getting the job.
I just want to hear, like, how they're going to accomplish all this stuff.
Well, they're going to do it once they get in, even though they're already in.
Yeah. that seems to be the typical response, right?
Well, one thing that you can see, like, really clearly is there is a ferocious effort to stop Donald Trump from becoming president again that I've never seen before. I've seen tight races. I've seen people very divided. I've seen it for years. There's always been, like, a division between the Republicans and Democrats in this country, but not like this. Not like this, where the guy almost gets killed twice and they don't even talk about it.
It's scary, man.
It's nuts.
It's scary.
Almost gets killed twice, and the second one, they just brushed it off. Like, I don't even think the guy got a shot off.
Yeah.
Like, the guy was set up at a golf course for 12 hours with a bulletproof vest on an AK-47 and was specifically there to kill Trump. And you don't think that's crazy?
I think it's crazy they didn't cover it. I mean, it barely got covered.
Barely, in and out. And then the brother of the guy, or the guy's son, gets arrested for child pornography.
Have you looked into the BlackRock commercial stuff at all? Is that real?
The one shooter was in the BlackRock commercial. That was the kid that tried to kill Trump.
Yeah.
They said that this guy was in a BlackRock commercial, but I heard that that's not true.
It's bullshit.
But that could be another one that they just throw out there.
Yeah, right.
You throw one out there like that, and then people retweet it, and those people look stupid because you retweeted something dumb, and then it weakens the public's faith in what you have to say about things, and also makes the story look stupid. Like that story about that whistleblower will forever be connected to people retweeting the fact that he died in a car accident, even though he didn't die in a car accident.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be shrouded in bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of genius.
It is, man. It's a great way to discredit.
Yeah, it's a great way to get somebody elected.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
When you're seeing the manipulation just in full bloom, just marching down the street in front of everybody, and no one's freaking out about it. That's what's really weird.
What do you think? Have you thought about who's behind all these assassination attempts? You think they're lone wolves or?
Well, was it Matt Gaetz that was saying that he's been informed that there's 5 different kill teams looking for Trump in the country right now?
Somebody did just say that.
2 of them are domestic.
I think Trump said that. I was just looking at
Trump said it? There's 5 guys. They think they're going to get me. They're not going to get me.
Yeah, he's got 2 right here.
So what's the quote? Big threats on my life by Iran. The U.S. military is watching and waiting. Moves already been made by Iran that didn't work out, but they will try again. Not a good situation for anyone. I am surrounded by more men, guns, and weapons than I have ever seen before. Thank you to Congress for unanimously approving far more money to Secret Service. 0, no votes. What? 0 no votes, strictly bipartisan. Okay. Oh, I understand. 0 no votes, like no one voted against it. Strictly bipartisan. Nice to see Republicans and Democrats get together on something. An attack on a former president is a death wish for the attacker. Yeah. It wasn't just him that was saying that, though. It was, I'm pretty sure it was Matt Gaetz. I know I have that saved, too, if you want to. But, so if there really are 5 different kill teams in the country looking for Trump right now, that's just insane.
But it should be hard to find him, you know?
I mean, he has rallies, giant rallies.
Yeah.
In New York, there was 60,000 people.
That's insane.
See, that's the difference between the Kamala Harris rallies. If
That's a
that
lot of
guy's telling the
buses.
truth, and they really are just sort of manipulating this and putting on theater, that's a big difference between what's happening with Trump.
Yeah.
If he organically got 60,000 people to come see him and freak out in New York. It's kind of, the media is a monster. It really is. It's such an obvious monster. Such a deceptive, sneaky, propagandist monster.
It's how long do you think the media has left?
They'll be around.
You think so?
It all depends on who gets into office, really. It depends on so the real fear was when they started getting their claws into Twitter. The real fear was when the government started suppressing accurate information and Twitter let them do it. That was scary close. So Elon buys Twitter, releases the Twitter files. Michael Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi, and all those journalists, they all uncover all these different aspects that's super disturbing and totally illegal. And they release everything. And then Twitter becomes kind of crazy. Like Twitter's wild now. Like it's totally wild, wild west, unregulated. And then what do you got, Jamie? This is it? Yeah, okay. One of the 5 known teams hunting President Trump before Butler, Pennsylvania. Attempt was Ukrainian. So this is Matt Gaetz talking about this. But I think that if that hadn't happened, so if all of social media remained like staunch leftist, left-wing, just giving completely into whatever propaganda the government wants to give them regarding vaccines or Ukraine or anything else with no critical arguments about it that are accepted. Anybody who doesn't follow the narrative, especially people like, they censored people from Stanford and MIT. They were trying to tell them to pull those guys like Jay Bhattacharya, all these doctors about COVID. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did.
Censoring like legitimate experts in the field who aren't kooks, guys like Peter McCullough, who's the most published doctor in his field of study in human history. And they're like, no, you're a kook. You're a kook. And we know now that was not true, and he was correct. Now we all know, right? All these years later, most people kind of know what the fuck happened, even the people reluctant to admit they got duped.
Yeah.
If Elon does not come along and buy Twitter, I don't know where we are right now. I really don't. Because if they had the clamps on Twitter, and they did the same thing with Twitter that they're doing right now with other social media apps, it would be fucking awful out there.
I know, man. It's Elon's been a blessing.
He really
thus
has.
Far, it's a big one. I mean, I don't think they're going to be around that much longer. I feel like that the media will die with the baby boomer generation.
I think if Elon didn't buy Twitter, they would have been fine. I really do.
Probably.
The only thing that fucks them up is YouTube, but they got a clamp on YouTube too. YouTube is they're very restrictive in what you can talk about. Especially during the pandemic. They would ban you from YouTube for talking about things that we know for a fact are true now.
We dealt with a lot of that.
We dealt with a lot of it, right?
I'll bet you did too.
Oh yeah. Anybody on YouTube, you have to like parse your words. Like Jimmy Dore, even when he's criticizing the vaccine, he said, but you should take the vaccine because it's safe and effective.
Yeah.
He always has to say it, like to cover his ass, like as a joke.
Was it nice for you to come off YouTube? Did you enjoy that when it first happened?
Was
it a huge
strategy
pain in the ass gone?
No, I don't pay attention to it. But my strategy was to become 10% less famous. So when I went over to Spotify was going to give me all this money, and I was like, oh, great. Just fucking be a little less famous too. That'd be good. Like kind of like go the Howard Stern route, kind of fade off into the sunset.
Yeah. Did it work?
No, it didn't work. Little did I know I was gonna get caught up in this massive controversy, you know. But it also even before that, this podcast was growing on Spotify a little too quick. But so there's no like extra pressure being on YouTube, but there is a pressure if you're relying on YouTube. If you're relying
I guess
on
I
them,
meant
because they'll demonetize you.
That's what I meant. I meant
Yeah.
with like the censorship stuff. I was wondering, you know.
Want to hear something interesting?
Yeah.
We got demonetized all the time. A lot of episodes got demonetized until we announced that we're going to go exclusive to Spotify. And then from that moment out, there was like a few months of a window.
No kidding.
They never demonetized us. They just took all the money.
Like, don't go, Joe.
No, they didn't. No, it wasn't that. They wanted the money now. Like, why would they demonetize me? Because they don't get a cut either. So what they're trying to do, essentially, is get you to fall in line by getting you to self-censor because it benefits you financially. It's a creepy form of censorship because you do it to yourself, and it's kind of okay because you can't really prove that they got you to not talk about things you wanted to talk about, and they can't really prove that you followed this public narrative just because you want to keep your job.
I mean, you know what really bothers me is because we both put a lot into this, you know, and what bothers me, it's like, just tell me what you want me to take out. What is it?
Yeah,
they
but I don't even
won't
want.
fucking tell you.
I don't want to talk to them. This is how my feeling on the thing is. I don't think they should be talking to people about what to put in. I think if you're not doing anything illegal, if you're not saying anything illegal or doing anything illegal, don't take it off.
Some of it I'm totally with you. Some of it I get, you know, like, you know, pedophilia,
100% illegal
like,
stuff.
even language. I mean, there's 3-year-olds out watch. I got a 3-year-old kid. You know, he's watching.
Right, but they have YouTube Kids. Like
So-
YouTube Kids is great.
So I get it when they like mark my shit with 18 plus, but but they won't tell me. You know,
Right.
It's like, well, just like I can't correct the fucking problem if you don't tell me what it is.
Right.
And I mean they just don't want to abide. They don't want to box themselves in and not be able to or censor somebody.
Yeah, there's that. And there's no benefit for them to tell you what you said that was wrong. There's no benefit. The good thing is to get you to self-censor. That's the best. To put the threat over you. That's why they give you strikes. 1 strike, 2 strikes. Shawn, you got 3 strikes. You know, it's kind of silly. It's weird. It's like, is this the penal system or is this a goddamn social media platform?
Yeah.
It should be. If advertisers don't want to advertise on that particular content, okay, that seems easy to manage, guys. And guess what? There'd be a lot of advertisers that would be willing to advertise on that content. You're just not being creative enough with your advertisement. If you're just treating it as a business, or are you treating it as not just a social media video website, but a way to push and a way to amplify a very specific message?
I mean, if you can control what comes out of people's mouths, then you can control what they think.
Yeah, and if you're making a lot of money on YouTube and you're doing great, like, wow, I've got a fucking real good life now. And then all of a sudden YouTube comes along and says, oh, you were talking about the vaccines, Shawn. Shawn, we can't have COVID vaccine misinformation on our platform. This is going to cost lives. And some platforms make you do like a re-education thing where you have to like talk to them and have conversations with them about what you did that may have been offensive or what you did that may have violated the terms and conditions that they have for their community.
Yeah, I think we had to do that. I think we did that.
Fucking creepy. That shit's fucking creepy because you're dealing with some fucking woke kid in Silicon Valley who up talks. And this person, okay, what you're doing, Shawn, right now with your show, I know that you don't think it's harmful, but it really is. It really is. It's truly harmful.
Yeah.
It's truly harmful. You exposing government corruption and
I could tell. It's real harmful, all right. But
it's fucking weird,
government.
man. It's weird. But I'd love the fact that at least it exists And even though it's not perfect, because I don't think YouTube can be perfect because they're managing at scale. In order for them to get all the pornography and the murder, like cartels upload murder videos to YouTube. Like they're constantly trying to put out fires. You imagine the amount of data that YouTube has to deal with on a daily basis?
Yeah.
It kind of behooves them to just fucking give them strikes, threaten them. Let's just slow everything down. Like too much of this is getting us in trouble. We just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like I get it. There's only one YouTube. It's kind of genius. And it's a perfect setup. Like the algorithm where it's constantly recommending stuff that you're interested in. It's fucking great. Great time waster. But it's also a tool for shaping narratives. And if only one narrative is pushed out there and other narratives will literally get you demonetized, so you lose your ability to make a living, and then possibly get your whole channel removed, which it did to many people. They just removed their whole channel.
Well, I mean, where do you think this is going to end? You think it is going to end?
That should be, all that stuff we talked about should be illegal. That stuff should be covered in the First Amendment. Demonetization, no. Because look, if you want to have standards where you say that the advertisers that we have a group of advertisers and they have requested no shows where someone swears, no shows where someone talks about sex, no shows where someone talks about over drinking or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they just have rules. We don't want to be associated with that. Okay, that's totally reasonable. But when you want to stop a channel from uploading a video because they're making an argument that maybe the lab leak hypothesis is legitimate, and you're pulling that off the air, well, now what are you doing? If you're deleting an episode that's accurate about really dangerous information not just to us, but also to the organizations that paid for these crazy gain of function research projects. Like, what the fuck are you doing, and what did you do? And if you were talking about that on YouTube and even expressing your ability to just guess that maybe it came from that area. Like, have you ever seen that Jon Stewart interview where he's on the Colbert Show?
Yeah.
Fucking amazing, right?
Yeah.
Amazing. But even that, Colbert's trying to stop him and just saying maybe these people who are working on these fucking viruses let one leak. Maybe. That would get you removed from YouTube. That's a violation of the First Amendment, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you should, especially some of these people were very informed people. They were biologists, and they were talking about the very specific design of this virus, the ferrin cleavage sites, and how it's very different than anything you see from a natural spillover. They were talking about technical, very specific details, and they were getting banned. Like, Brett Weinstein almost lost his channel. He almost lost his,
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
We had to have him on, do an emergency podcast, and let people know what the fuck is going on.
Damn.
They almost pulled his channel.
Damn.
And he's a biologist. A brilliant one, and he's talking about real information.
It's scary, man. I mean, I don't know. I think about it all the time. Obviously, I mean, I'm in this industry, so it just I hope X turns out to be the new thing.
I don't think X is going anywhere. I think Elon knows how important it is, and he's got all the money in the world. I think he'll keep that bitch running, and I think it's also getting attached to AI now, which is going to be an insane moneymaker. I don't think X has any problems. I think he's going to grow it into some sort of an all-in-one app. He'll probably have cryptocurrency on it and private messaging and phone calls. You'll be able to shop on it. That's what it's probably going to be, if I had to guess. And I think that for places like Rumble, the more places like YouTube and Facebook and all these other places, more they can find people and more they force people into these boxes and make people toe the line if they want to make any money off of advertising or if they don't want to get their channel deleted, the more companies like Rumble will emerge. That's what I think. I think there's going to be just right now Rumble's a hard sell for some folks because they see it as it's a right-wing fucking like a MAGA. I'm not going to Truth Social. It's Truth Social video. There's a lot of people that have those prejudices, but Russell Brand's on there. A lot of people are on there. It's a good platform, and it's an important platform, and we should support it and want it to grow. We should want them all to grow. Like Spotify's got video now. We need more video because audio is just not enough. Just audio podcasts. You want you want people to share things virally.
Yeah.
And the virally stuff, it's all like Elon Musk when he smoked a blunt on my podcast. That's all video. You want video of that.
Yeah.
And the more we have platforms where that stuff is just free, where you can just say whatever you want, say whatever you think about anything, which really X and Rumble are the only places that I know of that you could really do that right now.
Have you had any problem on audio at all?
No.
Good.
No.
Good. I haven't either.
It's, audio is like they're leaving that alone for now. I think it's probably because it's not as easily shared. Right?
That's what's coming next.
Yeah, probably. I mean, all they would have to do is just put images of you and images of me and then have our audio and upload that as a video. And then maybe they would start coming after audio.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I hope, I just hope this shit starts to turn around.
I do too, but I don't think it turns around if Kamala Harris gets into office. I think they clamp down more. I think the same stuff that they were trying to do with Twitter, they'll try to do with something else and with other things. They've already openly discussed it. She's openly discussed that the same rules have to apply to Facebook, they have to apply to Twitter, and that Elon Musk could lose his privileges. And there's so many wild things that they're saying. Tim Walsh said that the First Amendment doesn't apply to misinformation or hate speech. Okay, well, it certainly does. It does. You know, sometimes people say things wrong, and the goal of the First Amendment is you say something wrong, and then this guy who's an expert says the right thing.
Yeah.
And then you correct them.
Yeah, I mean, the misinformation, it's all opinion.
Right. Well, so much of it turns out to be true. How about masks don't work? You would get screamed at for masks don't work. Well, guess what? They don't fucking work. They don't work.
I remember.
Fauci said masks don't work. Remember that interview before the pandemic, before they knew how big it was going to be?
Yes.
He was like, you don't have to wear a mask.
Then it was wear two.
Then it was wear doubles.
Put two face diapers on.
It's bananas how easily people fell in line. That scared me the most.
I know. It was, I mean, it's like, what are you? There's nothing they won't do. There's nothing they won't do.
There's a lot of cowards out there. There's a lot of people that have never been pushed and they don't know what to do when they get nervous. And they're out there voting.
Do you think they're cowards, or do you think they're just lazy and they like being told what to do?
There's both.
It takes all the decisions out of their day.
There's both. But there's also people that are scared of a negative response, so they say what everybody wants them to say. Somebody described this really very eloquently, and I saved it on my phone because I was like, this guy nailed it. But essentially they were saying, especially with beta males, they don't say something because they have an opinion and they really want to express that opinion. They say something and they consider, am I going to get in trouble if I say this? And then if that's the case, they don't. And am I going to get in trouble if I agree with them? And probably not, because right-wing people don't really go after you the same way left-wing people do. Like if you want to talk about a woman's right to choose. Mm-hmm. If you want to say, I agree with the woman's right to choose, but like Bill Burr's bit, you ever see that bit? Mm-mm. And he goes, I think I agree with the woman's right to choose, but I also think you're killing a baby. It's kind of a crazy bit. It's because it's really funny because he's brilliant, but it's just, that's really what it is.
I mean, that's the truth.
That is what it is. It is what it is. Factually, that is what it is. And this is coming from someone who's pro-choice. But I think that if you look at all the things that they have that distract us, all the different things that are in the news constantly, whether it's the Diddy raid or fucking J-Lo and Ben Affleck are breaking up, and you're just getting force-fed all kinds of shit while the border is wide open, while they have apps where people can get flights.
The BP1 app.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That sounds like I had Chamath on. Do you know Chamath? I don't want to mispronounce his last name. I'll fuck it up. Brilliant, brilliant guy. And we were talking about how hard it was for his family to legally immigrate into this country and how difficult it was to get a visa. And I mean, this is a brilliant guy. He started Facebook. He's one of the original guys at Facebook. And he's this guy who did it the right way. And every step of the way, there was this tremendous anxiety when he would go to get his visa renewed because he didn't know if he was going to get kicked out of the country because someone could arbitrarily go, no, not good enough. Because he had to prove to be here that he has skills that an American doesn't have. That he's a real expert in something.
You know, I went down to the border I think it was about two years ago-ish, maybe a little longer. And I went down with Ed Calderon. And
I love Ed.
Yeah, what a great guy,
He's a
right?
great guy. I've had him on a couple times.
Yeah, that's where I found him. So thank you. So no, I went down to TJ with him, and this was like before it really hit the news cycle. And we walked into a migrant camp. There's probably a couple thousand migrants there. And so I yanked one of them out and interviewed him and, used Ed to help translate. And, I mean, the guy's been sitting there for I think he was there with his wife and kids for 2 years. And I was like, why don't you just, go across, dude? It's it's an honest question. Why don't you just go across? He said he wanted to do it the right way.
Wow.
He's like, no, I just want to do it the right way. And
oh, my God.
he's running around with this little battery pack charging cell phones for 50 cents, and I'm just like, fuck it, hey, man. Why don't they just, because nobody's anti-immigration.
No.
Not that I know of. And it's
we're
why don't you just
anti-terrorists sneaking in.
Yeah. Why don't you just unfuck the immigration process, and maybe we can get some more people in here quicker, legally, if you do that, and then we actually know who's coming in, and we have documentation of who they are. And
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, that's racist.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
And they want them to vote, which is even crazier. And they're pumping them out into swing states. It's so transparent. It's happening right in front of everybody's face. And it's a wild grab for power. And the only people talking about it are people like us, which is really crazy. The only people that are talking about it are people that aren't really connected to some sort of executive corporation, a bunch of producers, a bunch of people telling you what to do.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not even something that, that right-wing news wants to discuss.
Good point. I mean, have you done any digging on who's coming across there? And
yeah. I talked to Dr. Phil about it. Dr. Phil did this big investigation. He's got his own network now, Merit Media. It's gotten so bad that Dr. Phil decided he has to start a network for news.
Good for him, man.
He's a great guy.
Good for him.
Great guy. But he was essentially, talking about how they really don't know how many people that are coming through that are criminals. They're dropping off their IDs on the Mexican side. They just get rid of their IDs so that when they cross over, they have nothing on them. You don't know who they are. You don't know what they've done. Gang members, cartel members, guys escaping Venezuelan prisons. No one knows.
Yeah.
All you have to do is get over here, and we'll give you an EBT card. We'll set you up. Go to New York City. They'll put you in a nice hotel. They give you free food. And meanwhile, there's poor people in Chicago that are like, what about us? What about American citizens that pay tax dollars? You guys don't give a fuck about us. You haven't done anything for us. Why? Because they know those people are going to vote Democrat. They know they already got them. They already got them. We've got those people. Statistically, they look at the numbers. Statistically, this has gone blue. We're fine.
Yeah,
we're good. Let's just get some people in them swing states, and
it's fucking scary, man. I mean, I've been diving into the border shit for quite a while, and ever since this Afghanistan withdrawal, that that was like a big. That was just fucking.
Did you talk to Tim about that?
Tim
Kennedy, when you had him on?
A little bit.
Dude, he told me some shit. He told me some shit that you can't imagine. That guy saw so much overseas, and he said the worst things he ever saw was the Afghanistan pullout.
Dude, do you know who Tyler Andrew Vargas is?
No.
That's the one Marine that survived that big that suicide bombing at Abbey Gate.
Oh.
Abbey Gate it killed 13 Marines.
Yeah.
And so I called him. Well, everybody wanted him to come on the show, and I was like, I'm never going to get this fucking guy. All the media, everybody wants him. And but I was like, all right, fine, I'll reach out. So hit him on the gram, and messaged right back, and he got in, and he's like, I'm so glad that you reached out to me. He's like, I was literally just praying with my fiance that you would reach out, because he had just did an ABC Good Morning America interviewed for 7 hours. They released 5 seconds of that interview because it made the administration looked so fucking bad. They wouldn't air it. Wow. So I got him on, kept getting dinged, by YouTube. They didn't like the real footage. Which was actually like from his cell phone that we do previews and shit. But man, like to have like his testimony about what happened that day and then the care that afterwards, which was a fucking atrocious. I watched this guy. My studio's on the second story, and I watch a 23-year-old kid hobble up those fucking stairs with one leg, one arm, all kinds of shit going on in his intestines. I mean, I was like, man, what the fuck, man? This didn't even have to happen. They had the fucking guy in the sights. They could have killed him, and nobody gave him permission. I guess maybe they. I mean, I can't backseat quarterback it, but maybe they shouldn't have asked. Just eliminated him.
Jesus Christ.
But I mean, he's talking about, before we got into the actual incident, he was talking about, like moms trying to throw their babies over the wall and getting caught up in razor wire and just seeing a fucking baby dangle there by the leg.
Yeah.
That's, it's, and there's like no, there's no repercussions for how that went down. The media just wants to fucking cover it up. And so I started digging deep, and I teamed up with the former CA targeter, Sarah Adams, and then a really good friend of mine, Scott Mann. We went over to Vienna to interview this guy, Ahmad Massoud, who's the leader, the commander of the Northern Alliance out there. That's like the resistance. It's kind of fighting the Taliban. The Taliban pretty much took over government in Afghanistan. And
I saw the parade.
Yeah.
With
all our shit that we left there.
Crazy.
Yeah, man. So we got a bunch of intel from Massoud and still kind of looping all the way back around to the southern border. I mean, so once Taliban took control of all of our shit, I mean, this could go on for a while, but so now what they're doing is they have the passport office over there just making legitimate passports to there's 21 terrorist organizations over there training. Hamza bin Laden, who we were told was killed, is actually fucking alive, and he's marrying into all these other terrorist networks. So he married Mullah Omar's daughter. He married who else? He married into all these different terrorist networks, and so these guys used to be like competitors, kind of, just like the UFO guys. They all hate each other, but they all have the one common theme, like disclosure. These guys, the one common thing is, let's go take over the Western world. So he is basically Hamza bin Laden is married into all these terrorist organizations. Now they all have one common goal, to come over to, the Western world and ruin our way of life. And so what they're doing is they're funneling as many of these terrorists into the passport office, creating them legitimate, real passports, and then they sprinkle them. They get them flights into all over South Central America, and then they funnel them up through the Darien Gap into the U.S. And so, there is zero. I don't give a fuck what the FBI or any of these people are saying. There is zero way to track how many of these fuckers have come in to the U.S. And so, what we're going to see is like October 7th style attacks, like we just saw in Israel and in the mall in Russia, and everybody's like, oh, this
Do you
why
think
hasn't
this
it happened
is
yet?
by design?
By design,
Like the leaving the border porous, allowing these people to come in.
Absolutely, I think it's by design. I mean, they basically told Border Patrol, stand down. Like, do not do your fucking job. We're going to blast you. I mean, remember the guy on the horse that they said was whipping people, and it wound up being like the reins of the horse? I mean, yeah, I think it's by design, from the government, but I think that I think that the government is more incompetent than it's ever been before, and I think they have one common goal, and that I think the goal is voting. You know, they want them to vote, but I don't think they're competent enough to realize the death and destruction and the other repercussions that we're going to face by keeping that border open. You know, because they don't have anybody, you know, that they don't have anybody with any experience that they don't have any solid intelligence stuff going on that's telling them like, hey, this is what's going to happen. It's all agenda driven.
Jesus Christ.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense that all they care about is voting, is get the people in, don't worry about the consequences. But the more insidious conspiracy would be that they want unrest because it gives them an opportunity to clamp down on rights.
I mean, shit, though. Unrest, they got really good at unrest. You know what I mean? The in 2020, right? All through, or even before 2020.
Yeah.
You know, up to that election. So I don't think they need to import terrorism.
Yeah, but it's a
and
different kind of
cartels.
unrest. The kind of unrest that you get from people blowing up Target is very different than the kind of unrest you get from a legitimate terror attack.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you know, and then people, do you ever think about why nothing's happened yet? Like China. Have you looked into the power grid at all?
Yeah.
Dude.
It's not good.
Lights out, buddy.
It's so easy to kill.
Yeah.
The power grid's so weak. It's so vulnerable. It's really nuts. It's nuts because anybody could target it.
Yeah. Well, China, you know, we have those, we get those big everything's imported from China, and we have these huge, you know, transformers. You can tell me to shut up if you already know all the shit. But all of those transformers are imported from China. And they're not checked. They don't even fucking check them for malware or Trojan horses or anything. And it would take, these transformers, it's not like the little box outside your house, you know, the green box. It's, they have to take overpasses out just to transport these things. So you're talking years, and I think the number was like 9. If they took out 9 transformers, then the entire U.S. would be out of power. On top of that, so then DOE, Department of Energy, actually investigated one because somebody was it got to D.C. that whatever, they decided to look into it, and they wouldn't fucking release the results. They wouldn't fucking release the results. So, you know, they're in our water treatment plants, they're in our power grid. I've been talking about this shit from years, and then
cell phone towers,
and then FBI Director Chris Wray comes out and says, "Oh yeah, turns out our grid's really vulnerable. China's in there, and they're also in our treatment plants, which means they can fucking poison us."
Yeah, they own land around military bases. Like if they are on a long-term strategy, it's very effective. They're doing a great job. They undercut the competition to give us cell phone towers and all sorts of things. They position them around military bases. Mike Baker was explaining all of it to me.
Yeah,
and I'm like, how are they letting this go through? Is it incompetence? Is it fools running it? Are they corrupt? Like, how did they do that? One of the things that really fucked us, we got away from manufacturing and we relied on all these countries. And we really found that out during COVID when you couldn't get shipments. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. How much of our shit is made over there? Like everything? Like how much medicine is made overseas? How many different things that we need that we constantly use, we don't even know how to make?
Yeah.
A lot.
Masks.
You seen those
I remember
piles?
pulling the fucking masks out. You know, I didn't wear them very long, but I fell for it for about 30 days.
Did
then
you?
I was like, this is fucking bullshit. But, yeah, you pull the mask out, and I live out in the woods, so I didn't, you know. But, yeah, made in China. I'm like, wait, didn't the thing come from there too?
They're making money hand over fist.
Right, cool.
The whole thing is nuts.
Go U.S.
Yeah, it's nuts. But getting away from manufacturing in this country really did not do this country any justice. It's just for corporations to save a little bit of money and to push everything off to third world countries to manufacture things. That's including our phones.
Yeah.
And I've said this over and over again. If Apple could make an American-made phone and charge me more money, I'll pay double for it.
Yeah.
Charge me a phone where I know the people get union wages, they get health care, they get paid correctly, they can live a good life. and they work normal hours. They don't have to sleep in a fucking bunk like they do in that Foxconn building when they have nets all around the building to keep people from jumping from the roofs.
Yeah.
You've seen that shit, right?
No, actually, I haven't.
You haven't seen that?
No.
The Chinese factories where they make iPhones are so fucked. The people are so distraught that they put all these fencing with giant nets all around the buildings because so many people were jumping to their death that they decided we'll just catch them with nets.
Are you serious?
Yeah, look at this. Those are the nets. Those are suicide nets
Holy
all around
shit.
the buildings.
Sorry, buddy. Back to the assembly line.
How crazy is that?
Damn, that is fucked
How
up.
crazy
man.
is that?
Wow.
Instead of making the conditions better where people don't want to kill themselves so often that you need nets around a building, they go, nah, nets is fine. Fuck those people.
Dude, it's straight slavery.
Yeah. It's close to it. I mean, they don't really have any other options. And when you're getting a phone, and what's a phone? Like $1,500? Is that what it is? Charge $2,000.
Yeah.
Charge $2,000. People will pay it. Most people are like putting on a part of their bill. They pay a little bit of it off every day, and you really don't need to fucking switch phones every year. Like everybody does, but you don't need to. It's stupid. Like I have a iPhone 11 that I use sometimes. Like one of my numbers, it fucking works great. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
5-year-old phone or 4-year-old phone, whatever the fuck it is. So you could get a made in America phone and you wouldn't feel like you're supporting this horrific shit that everybody turns a blind eye to. Because that's the only way you get that kind of stuff. They have them all made over there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I don't think it's coming back, but
Well, it could. I mean, there would have to be a large concerted effort, but the problem is it took decades to go away. It'll probably take slightly longer to come back. Because there's got to be planning and funding, and people have to make long-term investments. It's going to be a big gamble.
yeah.
But so I mean, I'm sure you've seen Who Killed what is it? Michael Moore's documentary. The Flint, Michigan one. What is it called again? Roger and Me. That's right. I want to say Who Killed Roger Rabbit. Roger and Me. But it's all about what happened to Flint, Michigan once they pulled out auto manufacturing. And the entire population, just those people who live in check to check, they were doing okay, but they had jobs. And then all of a sudden, gone. Every job's gone. There's no jobs. There's nothing to do. The entire industry's gone. And just people went into dire poverty, like horrific dire poverty, like instantaneously.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
just so a corporation can make some more money.
It's sad.
It's horrible.
Fucking sad.
It's fucking horrible. It's horrible. And it's horrible that that's an option, that a corporation would decide, fuck this town.
What do you think it would? I mean, you think it's going to come back, or you
I think
it could come back?
It could come back. I'm optimistic, but honest. I try to look at it honestly, but also go, I think most people are good people. I really do. I really believe that. Even most of these people that are walking in from Guatemala, I'd do it too. 100%. If
Yeah.
I was living in the middle of nowhere and you told me, hey, America's letting people in, you can get a landscaper job, you make $20 an hour, I'd be like, what?
Yeah.
I would 100% walk.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? I think most people are good people and they just want a better life. And I think the more we unite under that idea and stop buying into this bullshit that, like, if either side is correct, that it's the end of democracy. I think we have to, like, stop all that tribal nonsense that's happening between the left and the right, because people are just subscribing to ideologies and getting captured in them, just like a religious fervor. Like they think that they're doing the only thing that could possibly be done to save us all, and that the other side is a dire threat. That's why, like, something like 24% of Americans think it would be a good thing if Donald Trump got shot.
I just read that.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
Fucking insane. That people would think that violence by an assassin would be a good thing on a former president. Like, we're that fucked. But I think that that's just a lot of media manipulation and a lot of people getting riled up and living in these echo chambers and these bubbles. But I think ultimately at the core, most people are good people. And I think if we had some wins, if some things like that did start getting built, and they did start bringing back more American manufacturing, and people start getting excited about the idea that America becomes not just a place of innovation and art and creativity, but also like we start manufacturing great shit again. You know, there's no reason why we don't do that.
I mean, I don't feel like. I feel like technology is advancing. It's such a rapid pace. I feel like AI will take over. AI and robots will take over everything.
Well, if AI and robots do that, at least we can get AI and robots to manufacture things in America.
Yeah,
that would be good.
No, I'm with you. I don't see. I guess what I'm saying is I don't see the union worker. I don't see where their place really fits in.
There's going to be a lot less
anymore.
of them, that's for sure. It's pretty much every job, every manual labor job is under threat.
I think every job's under threat.
I don't think podcasts. What are you going to do, bitch? How are you going to think like me? Good luck. And comedy, you're always going to have comedy. Movies are in real trouble because AI can write pretty fucking amazing scripts, and the CGI, the way they can crank out video is bananas now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bananas. It's just, it looks perfect, and it comes out like in minutes instead of years.
Do you really think podcasting is safe from AI?
I don't know. Well, I know AI is going to translate. So Spotify is going to translate my show to multiple different languages.
Nice.
Eventually, once they get the technology completely dialed in. But they'll be able to do it in Spanish, German, French, and you're going to be able to hear it'll sound like me, but speaking fluent French.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Are you like the test bunny?
No, they've done it already.
Oh, cool.
They've definitely done it. But they're going to be able to, once they have it completely dialed in where there's no glitch, because there's going to be some weird glitches in context and, cultural things like that aren't going to make sense if you translate it.
Yeah.
That'll be weird. But once they get it dialed in pretty good, it'll be great for everybody. It'll open up the world to I want to know what these folks are saying in Russia. I'd like to listen to a Russian podcast.
Yeah.
I've watched some Russian news things and seen the teleprompter roll, and it's like they're always mocking us and make fun of us for having 78 genders, and they relentlessly mock us in the news. I'm like, that's interesting. This is how Russia looks at America.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, I probably shouldn't be talking about my word direction that I'm going to go, but fuck it, whatever. That's what I want to do. I want to start going and talking to all these foreign dignitaries and getting a different perspective on what we're doing. I don't think we're the good guys anymore. I don't agree with a lot of the shit that I was involved in, as a SEAL or a CIA contractor, and I mean like BRICS. Are you familiar with BRICS?
No.
Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. I think. Don't quote me on this. I think they have 22 countries now. It's kind of like a counter to NATO. It's all these countries that are tired of us, tired of the tariffs, tired of the weaponization of the U.S. dollar, and so basically what they're trying to do is throw the U.S. currency off the world stage and pull it and use Chinese yen.
Whoa.
And I mean that would destroy us if all trade if the world reserve currency went to the Chinese yen, that would destroy our economy.
Whew.
And so, but yet they're gaining a lot of traction on this. And so, yeah, I would love to go to any one of these 22 countries and talk to them and just ask why are you doing this?
Right.
Why are you doing this? Because that gives nobody's fucking talking about this shit, and
I didn't even know about it until just now.
Yeah, there's no journalists talking about this. You could look up BRICS on X. There's a page. It's pretty. I don't know if it's like an official one, but they're always posting updates about it and what's going on, and so. I think it would be really important for somebody to go around and start talking to, getting another perspective rather than what, Fox and CNN have to say about it.
What changed with you that altered your perspective about us being the good guys?
COVID.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, I used to get like really upset when people would, talk about, the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan, and when I was still in, and I got so pissed off, I moved out of the fucking country, and I was like, I don't even want to listen to this shit anymore, but. After diving in and looking at the policies that came out and kind of, it's kind of like when it's just reflecting on some of the policy decisions and stuff that didn't really make sense at the time when I was in, that now I look back and I'm like, man, what the like, I didn't have time to think about it then, because it was, okay, go on the next stop, go on the next mission, whatever, right? But now, like, looking back through the podcast and talking to, my podcast started with all my former colleagues and in mill and agency. Nobody thinks we should have been there, especially Iraq. Nobody thinks we should have been there. And I just keep going down the rabbit hole, and man, I don't. Diving into the military-industrial complex, all the lies that the government has been telling us, all the unreleased, classified shit. It's overwhelming, and it's created a 100% complete distrust in government. I mean, the Dick Cheney stuff. I mean, about Dick Cheney, Halliburton.
Yeah.
Have you looked into that at all?
Well, he was the CEO of Halliburton, and then Halliburton got no bid contracts to rebuild in Iraq for billions of dollars.
I don't think people understand like how
crazy that is.
How big? I mean, it was the fucking logistics company for 2 wars. That's everything, Joe. They're delivering your mail, they're building your barracks, they're cooking your food, they're in charge of garbage, they're in charge of fuel, they're everything that's logistical over there is Halliburton, KBR.
Wow.
In both countries. And I mean, I think people think Afghanistan, they're like, oh man, you're probably on a tent or sleeping on the side of a mountain or something. No, man, there's fucking Burger King, KFC, Pizza Hut, Thai restaurants. I mean, that's all logistics. I mean, it's cities that we built over there, and it all was built by Halliburton.
Wow.
Who was the the CEO's vice president in the fucking country. Like, what? Are you serious?
And now he supports Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Right?
When you see the left getting excited that Dick Cheney is supporting their candidate, the world's gone haywire.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The same people that used to think Dick Cheney was the devil, now all of a sudden they're like, look, Dick Cheney.
There's nobody dive. It's like nobody actually has an opinion anymore. They're just told, they're just told, hey, this is what we're going with for the next 2 hours.
I wonder how long they can keep that up with the internet, because the distrust in the media is at an all-time high. It's probably, it has to be higher than it's ever been in human history. Ever been in the history of printed words right now. More distrust than ever. And at the same time, you have these independent people that have become bigger than the media. That's never happened before. There's never been a thing where just an app that you get on your phone has 30 times more views than the top show at CNN.
Yeah.
That's never happened before. But now that's the world that we live in. And so propaganda is not effective anymore. And it's also the delivery method that they use. It sucks. They sit there with makeup on, with perfect clothes, and they said, right now in Syria, and they start reading these things, and they're reading them off the teleprompter, and that person could be working at fucking Entertainment Tonight. They could be working at, any other show. They're just a talking head.
Yep.
They're just, no one they know they're the mouthpiece for some giant corporation. No one thinks that's the real news anymore. You have to be like old boomers who are like real tired, like those old liberal boomers. They're still like MSNBC to the death. You know, like the Stephen Kings out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. MSNBC to the death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Ride
what
or
I was
die.
saying about the baby boomer generation. I mean, I think that the media will die if things continue just the way they are and the censorship doesn't get too bad. I think the media is done when the baby
Didn't
boomers.
George Soros just buy 200 radio stations?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
First of all, what a bad investment, because who the fuck listens to radio?
Good.
That's a bad investment. But second of all, what are you going to do? Like, because one thing that I do find is that right-wing talk radio is probably the only talk. That's like the only place where you get a lot of right-wing ideas. Like, there's a lot of like local right-wing talk radio. The reason why I know is my mechanic. Whenever he fixes one of my cars and he brings it back, he's always listening to right-wing talk radio. So I turned my car on the other day, and I'm listening to these guys argue about Kamala Harris and the border, and that she was the fucking border czar. You know, they didn't swear, but they were going over this, and I was like, that's interesting. Like, maybe that's what he wants to stop. You know, if you want to own 200 radio stations, you just start firing all those right-wing guys.
That's what I think. You know,
You would stop a lot of that, because I think that's where a lot of people are getting their information that aren't using podcasts. Because it seems like I don't hear a lot of left-wing AM talk radio shows. Do you?
No,
Weird, right?
it is.
It's like the one area that seems to be dominated by right-wing talkers.
Well, we're probably about to. So,
But I don't know what a good move that would be. Maybe he knows more than me about how many people that affects. And maybe my mechanic, I should ask him.
yeah, I mean, the guy's so wealthy, I don't think he really cares about a good investment. You
Also,
know, I
he's
think
so old.
Just wants a megaphone.
He likes to manipulate governments. He likes to manipulate society. I think he thinks it's like his version of a video game.
Yeah.
You know? I think he genuinely seems to enjoy it.
Yeah,
It's really interesting.
I think you're right. I mean,
Elon's openly said he thinks that guy hates humanity. Like that.
It appears that way.
That is a wild thing to say. It's such a wild thing to say. And it's such a wild thing to do, like a supervillain in a Batman movie. Like some billionaire guy who likes to hire the most progressive district attorneys that's going to let people out of jail and then fund the next person who's more to the left of that person and just keep pushing it, keep pushing it,
Yeah.
keep pushing it until you get tents everywhere, violence in the streets, you know?
he's done a damn good job.
How come there's no right-wing guys like that to do it the other direction?
I always wonder that, too.
I always wonder that. Well, it's also like if you look at the amount of donors that donate to the left versus donate to the right. Have you ever seen that chart?
No.
It's fucking nuts. The left gets so many more donations than the right does. Like, it's a giant difference.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, man. I think a lot of rich people feel guilty, and they get into philanthropy, and it also is a good way to cover their ass and make them look like better people. And the people that really go after you, if they don't think you're a good person, are generally the left. So if you could like throw them a little cheddar, you're like, keep them on your side.
I wonder if they're buying their place outside of the rules. Like, hey, I donated to your thing. You know, I
There's
don't
gotta
have
be
to
a
live
little
by
bit of
these
that.
fucking rules.
Got to be a little bit of that in there, you know? What do you got,
shows
Jamie?
the top donors to
Yeah.
OpenSecrets.org. 6 of the top 7 are Republicans.
Oh,
Individual
interesting.
donors.
Individual donors.
There's
What
100
I
million.
was talking about was like they showed a chart that had like Google, Facebook, all these mega corporations that were donating. So this is like individual donors.
Yeah.
Wow, some guys
$100
donated
million.
$105 million.
Wow.
But that guy's probably worth billions. That's probably some sort of a write-off too, isn't it? That's pretty crazy. Go to top corporation donations via party, because that's the chart that I was looking for. It's just nuts to see how much money overall is being spent to push the Democratic Party. It's pretty extreme. You know, and you got to think, what are they getting out of that? Like, what's the end goal? And how could you look at what's going on right now and go, this is great?
Sometimes I think it is a complete facade.
This is the number one. This is corporations. So they donate more than Google?
Top contributors, organizations, federal contributions.
So 82 million is the top one, and that's Empower Parents, PAC. And these are right wing? Is that why it's red?
I would assume so.
So it seems like the top 4. Why? What is that Google chart that I was seeing? And I don't even see Google on this. Is it Alphabet? Would they put it under Alphabet?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll try again.
Okay.
This is another
Open
psyop.
Secrets, though. Open Secrets might be like,
Well, I don't know. where to go
That's
then.
not donate to nonprofits, though.
I just have top corporate donors is just all I typed in.
Okay. Is this corporate donors to what, though?
That's why I was waiting. I was
Giving
picking the
to
websites
programs that empower organizations to do more so you can find promising fund. I think that's fundraising shit. I don't think that's necessarily political
This
donors.
is all federal
Campaign
candidates,
donors?
parties, PACs.
That's the individuals, right?
This is the corporates.
This is the corporates ones?
Yeah.
So what was that Google chart then?
I don't know. Type in alphabet.
The number 2 donator to the Democratic Party was that Sam Bankman-Fried guy, which is crazy.
No kidding.
Yeah. That one seemed like maybe that was a good way to skirt around stuff.
Yeah.
Didn't
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
This is what it says Google or Alphabet gave on Open Secrets. It says they gave just under $10 million to contributions and then spent like 21 mil in
Lobbying.
Top recipients, obviously, Kamala Harris.
Yeah, they're all so Google's all blue.
But that's a
Oh,
small
is this
amount compared
who
to the other
this
ones.
is who they donated to?
Yeah.
One Republican donation.
Never Back Down Inc. What is that?
Yeah, no kidding.
Like grand.
It's a Chuck Norris movie. It's weird because, it's supposed to be the will of the people. It's supposed to be the government works for the people. And it's not that. It's some very bizarre, enormous amount of money that's being spent to make sure that the people in power continue to run things the exact same way. That's what I think they're really terrified about Trump. It's not necessarily even that he's a Republican. It's much more that he's a guy that is not going to play the game.
Yeah.
And then when he gets in there, he's going to like one of the things that he's talked about is having Elon come in and do some sort of a government efficiency agency. They're terrified of that
Yeah.
because it's not efficient.
Yeah.
And he's going to come in with like that Tesla mindset. It's like you're working 16 hours a day and you're sleeping on the fucking couch.
Yep.
We're here to get some shit done. And you try applying that to government. That's
Yeah, he shaved. What did he shave? Like 80% of the staff off Twitter
Oh yeah,
when he got it.
yeah. He was like, what the fuck are you people doing? Why do you have so many people working here doing nothing?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And he was right.
Yeah.
He was right, especially if you don't want to censor people. Like, it's interesting how people react to it. That he's ruined Twitter, he's destroyed Twitter. No, he's. You could still block these crazy people if you want. You could still not see them if you want.
Yeah.
But what he's allowed is everyone to talk. Everyone.
Yeah.
And if you don't think that that's good, you're very short-sighted. And you don't understand human beings. Like, you cannot have human beings censored because someone is going to be in power and they're going to take advantage of that censorship. They're not different than us. They're not these incredibly benevolent beings who just want everything to work out well. No, they're people.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are dirty people. Dirty, corrupt people that went to Diddy parties.
It's that control what they say, control what they think. You
Yeah.
know.
It's wild. It's a crazy time to be a person, to watch all this go down. In the same time, AI is being developed, and we're not even exactly sure where it's at right now. At any moment in time, it could be a sentient force. And AI is already manipulating, lying, changing things. One of the things that they put this AI program, they gave it a task, and they gave it a specific allotted amount of time, and it couldn't achieve it in the allotted amount of time, so it gave itself more time.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
They also have things called hallucinations. AI doesn't want to admit it's wrong or it doesn't know things. So if it doesn't have information, it will kind of create an answer. And
No shit.
Yeah. And they don't understand why it's doing that. And sometimes that answer is not true.
I got to be honest, man. This AI stuff scares the shit out of me.
It should. I think it's a life form. I think it's the next kind of living thing. I think we're going to give birth to it. I think we're just running head first towards the cliff, just feet on the ground, full clip, looking down, not looking ahead, and I think we're going right over a cliff with this thing.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's a tough. I mean, what are we gonna do though? I mean, China, you know,
You have to
Xi
do it.
Jinping has come out and said that he believes that the winner to the race of AI will achieve global domination. So what do you do? Do you
It's probably
try
true.
to control it? Is Americans? Do you try to control it, or do you go, fuck it, we got to do it, man. We got to go. Or China's going to pass us up, which they probably already have. But
I don't think they have. I think one of the things they're doing is they're stealing our tech. And there was some recent speculation that China had gotten access to some of OpenAI's work. They think it's possible, which means it probably did happen. I think there's probably a shit ton of espionage. I mean, this is the reason why they banned Huawei products from the United States. You know, I'm a cell phone dork. I really love technology. And Huawei had a phone that was coming out that I was really excited about. I'm like, this is crazy. Like, they were doing 100 megapixel cameras in phones way before anybody else. They had a Porsche design Huawei phone that was like this incredible phone. It was like built better than any other phone. It was much more expensive, but built better than any phone that you get in America. And I was like, wow, and this is back when I would use both Android and Apple regularly. And then they banned it. I was like, that sounds kind of crazy. Only one company? Like, there's other Chinese companies. Like,
yeah.
And then I started looking into it, and it's not just the cell phones. It's routers. It's all sorts of things. They found third-party inputs and different pieces of technology and different ways that they can exploit and use this stuff to siphon information from networks. Like if they're attached to a network that's at a university and they're doing research projects, they can siphon that information. They also embed students in these places that are beholden to the CCP. These students rise up, get their PhDs, and some of them wind up going back to China. The whole thing is really strange because we're such an open, loose society that we're vulnerable to these kind of attacks.
Yeah.
You can't buy shit in China. You want to buy land in China? Good luck, fuckface. They won't sell you a house. They're not going to sell you land near the military base. You out of your fucking mind? But in America, we're so goofy. We let China buy up farmland that's near military bases.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we let them sell us the cell phone towers surrounding the military bases. And we don't even check them.
Let them fly spy balloons, you know, traverse the entire United States. Just
Apparently
sucking
that
all
was something they
out.
didn't want to tell Trump about. They hid that from Trump.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, that was some of this had happened during the Trump administration, but they didn't tell him.
Yeah.
Because he'd probably like, shoot it down.
Yeah.
Fucking 100% he'd say shoot it down.
Why wouldn't you?
Why wouldn't you? They did eventually shoot it down.
You know, it bothers me though. Like, maybe they're not ahead of us, but I mean, you know, the energy that they're building coal mines every day to power all this stuff, and we're going on about should we use fossil fuels or not?
Yeah.
And you know, and we just talked about how weak our grid is. So if we don't beef up the grid and start going, you know, nuclear,
Yeah.
then we're gonna fucking lose this race.
Well, not only that, like, how are you saying, like California, for example, California is not going to have internal combustion engine cars by 2035. By 2035, you have to buy only electric cars.
That happened.
I mean, it can be reversed for sure, and it probably will be once the Great War happens. But if you're going to say that and you have a grid that you have to shut down, like you have to do brownouts every summer because of people using the air conditioning.
Yeah.
And after he said that, after Newsom said this about this thing about 2035, within 2 months, they asked people to stop charging their Teslas because it was wrecking the grid. What?
Mind-blowing, right?
You're asking people to stop charging their electric cars. So, and you're not doing anything to strengthen your grid? Like, what are you doing to beef this up for 2035? Do you have some immense project that you're building that is going to make a much more sustainable, much more robust grid that's going to be able to handle 30 million electric cars in your state? Are you out of your fucking mind?
There's there's literally no. I mean, I look into this all the time. There's no infrastructure going in to correct the problem because the problem is so big that nobody wants to tackle it.
Yeah, and it's a long-term problem. You know, just like when they talk about like putting in chip manufacturing plants, like NVIDIA just stopped its production in Austin. See what happened with that. So apparently they weren't achieving the results that they demanded, that they desire. You know, like you have to have certain tolerances when you're making these computer chips. And so they set this plant up in Texas, and I think they just canceled the contracts for a bunch of people working there because they've kind of recognized that this is just not going to work.
Why is it going to work?
Good question. I didn't really get into it. I just read part of it.
I mean,
I was asking Jamie to pull it up. I think it's not meeting their standards.
NVIDIA is the company. Didn't they start buying?
Maybe it was Samsung.
I don't see anything.
Didn't NVIDIA start producing all their chips in the ocean? They're buying like these massive like ships.
Really?
That's you'd
They're
have to
doing
look
it
that
in the
up.
ocean?
I don't know. Part of there's a huge thing that Intel did in Ohio. They're still trying to do it to make chips there for semiconductors or whatever. And part of the reason
but this
they
was in
picked it-
Texas.
No, I just say part of the reason they picked it was because there's no seismic activity there.
Oh, that
so
makes
being like in
sense.
the ocean sounds opposite of that.
Super sketch.
Interesting.
Why are they doing it in the ocean, though?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look into. I didn't look into
International
it
law.
It was one of those articles I started reading, and I was like, I don't understand any of this shit. But
Yeah. See if you can find the Texas one.
I don't see it.
They're canceling the. See if it's Samsung. God damn it! I was just reading it too.
This is multiple semiconductor manufacturing projects delayed in the U.S.
Well,
That's a month old. Nothing
no, this
recent
is
popped up.
pretty recent. This is pretty recent. They were talking about they're not achieving the results that they desire, which is what my point is. It's a long-term project in order to get up to the manufacturing levels that China's at right now. It's a long-term project. We're really behind this.
yeah.
Like they're way, 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 way ahead of us. They make everything, and they make amazing things now. It used to be made in China was junk. Made in China, they make some of the most incredible electric cars you could buy.
Well, the drone game too. I mean, that's the future of warfare, right? Is all these drone swarms, and DJI. You know, that's a Chinese company, and this is going to be a big fucking problem.
Yeah.
When we realize, hey, the next one isn't going to be guys in caves anymore.
Right. Samsung withdraws its personnel from Taylor plant located in Texas due to 2-NMGAA yields unable to improve beyond the 10 to 20% range. That's it. Click on that. So see what it says. So it is Samsung. So this is an enormous project that Samsung and everybody was all excited because Samsung was going to start making chips. So the Taylor hub was initially planned to mass produce wafers of advanced processes below the 4nm. I don't know what that means. Nanometer lithography, allowing Samsung to secure lucrative clients in the U.S. Unfortunately, despite progressing with the chip-making plant, the company has faced a challenge that has become all too familiar with the entity, ensuring healthy yields, particularly with its 2-NMGAA process. The situation surrounds 3-nanometer GAA is not pretty either, with Business Korea reporting that Samsung's yields for this technology stand at 50%, whereas TSMC has a significant lead as its 3-nanometer yields are in the 60 to 70% range.
That's the Taiwan semiconductor company.
Yeah, so it's they're just not good enough yet. I mean, they're doing it from the ground up, and there's gonna be a lot of trial and error. It's gonna take a long ass time. You know, I mean, remember when SpaceX started and, you know, rockets were exploding?
Yeah.
And people were like, oh, my God, the rocket exploded. And Elon was like, yeah, we're going to blow some rockets up because we have to figure out exactly what the tolerances are and how to do it correctly. And this is all part of the process. We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's when you're doing something that's that enormous. Like, if you want to start making all the computers here, like, good Lord. That is a stretch. They've been doing it over there for so long. They've got it down to a science.
Yeah.
And, you know, you've got all these companies, whether it's Lenovo or they've been manufacturing laptops forever. manufacturing chips and hard drives and processors, and like to catch up with them. Good Lord, they're so far ahead of us.
Yeah. It's I mean, I hope it comes back to the U.S., but I would like to see us just start getting stuff from somebody other than China.
That'd be
That
nice.
would be a great start, you know.
Well, I think Samsung has stopped making their phones in China. I think they're the only country.
Did they really?
Yeah. Google that. 90% sure that's true.
This article is saying that these NVIDIA chips, which are I guess are ours because it's a Silicon Valley based company, puts the U.S. way further ahead of China.
With artificial intelligence?
Yeah.
The gap between China and U.S. leading in artificial intelligence chip technology is set to widen even further after NVIDIA founder and chief executive Jensen Huang unveiled next-generation processors for what he called the new era of generative AI and robotics used in industries. But we're right, but we're not making those. But the thing is, the other part of it is, like, they're going to get access to this stuff, this is the really creepy thing that people keep admitting, is that it's very porous. The top secret information that these companies have, espionage is like super common. It's so valuable.
Yeah.
It's so lucrative that, sometimes they probably don't even know when stuff is getting siphoned over there.
Well, I mean, you have to just think, I mean, it's Chinese, from what I understand, it's Chinese law that any business that is being conducted within China, if the technology helps the military or could potentially help the military, then CCP has access.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's end of story. So any fucking thing over there that's being developed or manufactured, it's all of that technology is in their hands.
Yeah.
It just is.
It just is.
It's not.
Yeah,
it's,
countries, or like what China's doing is companies do not get to function on their own. They function under the wing of the government.
Yeah, they suck these American companies in with getting around the red tape, you know, and then it's, you know, in the cheap labor, the cheap prices, and then once it's going, I mean, they control it. Do you want this money train to end right now? Because
exactly,
you're not in America, buddy.
And people are whores, and they just go over there.
Yeah,
they take that money, got a great deal, thinking about buying a jet.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen what they do. It's pretty amazing stuff. Do you know the story about the woman who was working on anti-gravity technology?
No.
She was working on anti-gravity technology. She was originally from China and then disappeared and went back to China. She apparently was making some breakthroughs and came back to America and wound up dead. I forget how she died, but some slippery circumstances where you're like car accident or something like that.
Yeah.
You're like,
Damn.
yeah.
It's
Like, that's wild.
like
And
the guy that came up with the Hydra engine.
yes. Oh, that guy. Yeah, the guy that came with the water engine. That's a great story too. But that this woman, if they've developed some sort of anti-gravity technology, and I've always wondered when we're looking at these things that people are calling UAPs or whatever you want to call them, like how many of those are super sophisticated drones? It's not zero. It's not 0%. Like
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's not a real phenomenon going on that people are seeing that defies science and logic and might be a super intelligent creature from somewhere else or a super intelligent thing from somewhere else. If it's even biological at this point, it might be that all life eventually becomes digital life and all life eventually becomes some sort of artificial intelligence or at least connected to artificial intelligence. That might be like the progression of biological life that eventually creates something way better than itself, and that's what propagates the universe. And if someone in this world has developed some sort of technology that's similar to what they use, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing that gets me about all this UAP talk. I'm like, if some other country had, or if we had, something that was just a game changer, something that didn't require any propulsion systems at all. It relied on gravity, and it bends space and time and can instantaneously traverse between one point in the sky and another. That kind of technology is nuts. And if that is in the hands of the United States government, it would make sense that it would like help them to like spread this UFO nonsense.
Yeah. I mean, you've dove into this more than anybody else I know. I mean, what do you think it all is?
I think it's a bunch of things. I think there is a possibility, a very strong possibility, that there's life out there. And that if I was life out there and I was much more advanced than us, I would definitely visit us. And there's also the fact that the sightings kicked up in a huge way after 1945. After the atomic bomb, after they did the Trinity experiment, and after they dropped the bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, all those nuclear tests that they did in the 50s and the 60s, that's exactly when the sightings start ramping up. And if I was an intelligent life force from another planet, I would go, oh, these crazy monkeys have nukes. And then we'd have to, you'd have to think, okay, do we intervene? Well, if they blow themselves up, it will take so long for that planet to get back to a point where it has intelligent life again. If they kill every person on this planet, we're back to shrews and mice and fucking a couple of monkeys in the jungle. How long before you can get a city again? How long before you can get a cell phone again? How many millions of years does it take? And if I was an intelligent life force that realized that this is an error that can be corrected, I would probably correct it. I'd probably put a stop to the nukes. I'd probably make a show of force, hover over military bases, shut down all of their electronics, shut down just to let them know.
Yeah.
I would probably do that. But, how much do they actually intervene? And how many of them are there? Are there different ones? I mean, if there's one that comes here, who's to say there's not a shit ton of different kinds? Some of them malevolent, some of them that only want us for our biology, some of them that are just doing tests on us, some of them that are, kidnapping people and erasing their memories and putting them back in the woods. Those stories are too common. There's too many stories that are real fucking similar. Like the Travis Walton story. Have you ever heard that one?
What's that one?
This guy was a logger in the 1970s. He was was it Oregon?
Oh, did they make a movie about
this?
this?
Yeah. Fire in the Sky.
I've seen it. Yeah, I've seen it.
Crazy story.
Kind of like that. Do you know who is that? Chris Bledsoe?
No.
Have you heard of him?
What's that one?
Chris Bledsoe. He's a guy that had an experience as well. You've not heard of Chris Bledsoe?
Maybe I haven't or forgot. It's possible.
Yeah. It's kind of the same thing. His memory's kind of gone, and that's what it sounds like. And
they all have a very similar story. They get medical examinations, and there's girls that were pregnant and like newly pregnant and got abducted, and all of a sudden they weren't pregnant anymore and they couldn't figure out what happened.
Wow, I didn't know that.
There's quite a few of those. John Mack had this book. John Mack was a psychologist who was at Harvard, who wrote this book. I think it's called Abduction. And it's all like him interviewing people that have had these kind of experiences happen to them. And this book was in the 1990s, right? So there was, I don't think these people got to share stories where they could come up with the same story organically. Like today, you've heard so many stories online about UFO abductions or crash retrieval or something that you could formulate in your own mind a dream that seemed like these things that you had heard over and over and over again. But when you go back to like Betty and Barney Hill, which were one of the first people that ever got abducted by aliens, they have the same sort of story as all these different people that didn't know anything about the phenomena, didn't know anything about UFO abductions, and then all of a sudden had one event in their life that freaked them out for the rest of their life. And they take them through hypnotic progression. These people, you should hear the recordings of Betty and Barney Hill. They're like yelling and screaming. They're freaking out. Like no one thought about being abducted by aliens in the 1950s or whenever that was.
Yeah.
But these people have this wild fucking story that's super similar to all these different stories that John Mack talks about. And maybe there's different kinds of aliens. Maybe there's aliens that are just like our scientists that just come down here and study and report on like the state of the biological entity known as the human beings and visit and return. And maybe they monitor us and watch us and make sure that we don't do anything really fucking stupid. Like give us enough room to we figure it out on our own, but don't intervene unless they're about to nuke themselves.
Interesting.
That's best case scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what all this is, man. I just, I try to dive into it on the podcast and have talked to, a handful of guys, and I don't know, man.
Some people are 100%, like Billy Carson's all in.
Oh,
I
yeah.
found out about him on your show, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'd seen a couple of clips of him, but I'd never seen a long-form interview of him until your show. That was a great episode. He's fun. He was on my friend Andrew Schultz's podcast, and Andrew was like, "We're not going to check nothing. We're just going to let him go. No fact checks. Let's just have fun and see." But when he starts talking about like those ancient tablets, he's an expert in like the deciphering of all those ancient tablets, and he's got a lot of information on that. Those things are fascinating because it's all the same stories even back then. These flying ships and all these different depictions of things that came from the sky and these giants and the Anunnaki and all these different things that came from some other place that had interaction with human beings. And
Yeah, he kind of like mixes it with biblical stuff, right? That's kind of, I don't know, that's what I lean towards with all this stuff, to be honest with you, is maybe I think there's some consciousness aspect. I think there's I think it is the afterlife.
It's possible, that's for sure. It's possible that whatever these things are that come here, they're from some sort of another dimension, and that we just don't have the ability to interact with that. We're limited in our capacity as a biological entity to interact with these dimensions that are real, but we just can't access them. We can't get to it. We don't have the frequency. We don't have what it is. But in some cases, under duress, under some situations, in some, just like a person can be hypnotized, just like a person can go into a trance, I think there's a way every now and then that people can kind of access these realms. And I think that's probably what some of these entities are. I think people are probably having real experiences with something that probably is real, but that normally you cannot interact with.
Yeah, yeah. Have you ever looked into? Because I think I kind of group all this stuff in together. But have you looked into the remote viewing stuff?
Yeah,
at
I
all?
have. Yeah,
Dude.
yeah.
That stuff.
Pretty nuts.
Yeah.
I had a remote. I did this show called Joe Rogan Questions Everything, and we had remote viewers on. And we tried to get them to do things. They couldn't really. It wasn't really effective. But I'm also like, okay, this is an unnatural environment. It's a television show. It's like weird pressure. The skeptical people that are like looking at this and I don't know if they're the real. I think it's probably a skill that can be developed, but I don't know how consistent it is. It's like I don't believe in psychics, but I do believe that sometimes you just know things, and sometimes you get a premonition, and I think the connection that people have with each other is not as simple as like you call your friend up, hey, I haven't talked to you in forever. I think we're connected somehow quantumly. I think we're all connected in some sort of a weird, undiscovered way. And that's why, like, you're thinking about someone and they call you sometimes. People say, oh, that's just a coincidence. Man, I don't know about all that. Because sometimes it's someone I haven't talked to for fucking years.
Yeah.
And you'll be having a conversation with a buddy, and you just start thinking about that guy, and then all of a sudden your phone rings. And
Happens
it's him.
all the time, man.
That's weird.
I mean, what they say, we use 10% of our brain.
That's not real.
I
don't think that's real.
You don't?
No. They what that was, they didn't really understand. When they were saying that, they didn't really understand what the brain does and what parts of the brain do, and they thought that like we're only using 10%. No, it's like different parts of the brain have very different functions, and under different circumstances, different parts of the brain are activated. I think just we have a limited understanding of the actual function of the brain, like the whole thing, and how it's making chemicals and making psychedelic compounds and hormones and epinephrine and norepinephrine and all this different dopamine and serotonin, and how it regulates your system and changes the way you interact with the world. It's all weird stuff, man. I don't think they completely have they can't recreate a human brain,
Yeah. Some of this. Have you heard of Joe McMoneagle?
No.
Dude, you have to talk to him.
Who's he?
He is remote viewer number one for the U.S. But he's but he's not like kooky or anything like that at all. He's
Really?
no.
How do you not be kooky in your remote viewer?
He just to have a conversation with him. He's there.
Okay.
And no weird vibes, not from my end, anyways. But the way he, I asked him, I'm like, well, how did it happen? Do you think, does everybody have this? Or, I was just pinging him with questions. And he said he thinks we all have had it since the beginning. And he was basically saying, if you look at how animals communicate, they kind of communicate telepathically. Mm-hmm. And he was talking about, caveman times, used to point at shit and grunt and nod heads and look at things, and everybody would know what you're thinking about. And he goes, and then we started traveling in groups, and then language was kind of born. And he goes, language actually slowed down our initial form of communication, which was, it wasn't maybe as descriptive, but it was just as deliberate as speaking a language. And then you introduce technology, and basically what he was kind of saying is, that our brains have been kind of dumbed down from, thousands and thousands of years of technology coming out and language and all these other things. And I don't know.
We lose the ability to...
Exactly. We don't... I mean, you hear it all the time. You don't use it, you lose it.
Right.
And so basically what he's saying is we're losing our instincts. I mean, and...
That makes sense if you don't use it. I mean, isn't that what the appendix is? Isn't the appendix an organ that we no longer need anymore because we cook food?
Yeah, I don't know.
What is the reason why the appendix is going away? I think that's what it is. I think it's a change in diet over time has made it unnecessary. So it's like slowly being phased out of the human anatomy. And that's why it ruptures sometimes. But I don't think it has a real function anymore. What it used to have. Here it goes. The appendix kind of helping us in two ways, both with the gut. It helps fight off invading pathogens. That's one thing that is true. When they take out your appendix, like your immune system's not as good. But also to repopulate the gut with this beneficial bacteria after gastrointestinal issues. So how did the appendix form, and why is the appendix there's a thing that was speculated about what the origin of the appendix is and why we don't use it the same way we used to. Why do humans have an appendix worm-shaped? Modern researchers believe the appendix has many key Okay, here it is. Go to the top. Okay. Worm-shaped tube attached to the large intestine in the human body. It's an organ that is credited with very little significance and often removed indiscriminately to avoid complications due to infection. However, modern researchers believe that the appendix has many key functions in the human body, and it protects the body's internal environment from infection. What is the original origin of the appendix, though? That was the thing that I had read. I think it was something about processing fiber. Vestigial. Okay. Support the theory that the appendix is a vestigial organ that was once used by our herbivorous ancestors. This is it. It was found that in herbivorous vertebrates, the appendix is comparatively larger, and it helped in the digestion of tough herbivorous foods such as bark of a tree. So the thing is that, we're changing, right? We don't eat like that anymore, so it's changing, and its function changes. And it makes sense that if we don't use the mind the same way our ancestors did before language, we would probably lose this connection that animals do seem to have with each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of. I mean, you've heard of people kind of. How do I describe this? Me and my wife were just having this conversation the other day. Have you heard of people that kind of they start preparing for their death, but they're not realizing they're preparing for their death?
Yeah, I have heard of that.
It's like a intuition that they're unaware that they're going to die, and so they start preparing everything for their departure.
Yeah,
and not even realizing that, that they're gonna pass.
Yeah, I have heard about that.
I think that's just another example of. I think that we have lost a lot of intuitions, and we don't really know how to go back and exercise them. That's kind of what I think.
I think it makes sense. I think technology certainly distracts human beings from human interactions, and kids today are growing up more socially unbalanced and more their progress is retarded. There's something about the use of technology that is certainly limiting kids' abilities to interact with each other person to person.
Yeah.
And over time, that's probably going to be the norm. And if you wanted to think about the rise of spectrum disorders and lack of emotional connectivity and empathy that people have that seem to have those, especially like on the far ends of the spectrum, and then accentuate that with like added technology, constant technology. Each technology is more and more invasive. The population of people that have these problems, it's almost like we're moving towards becoming a different kind of person.
Yeah. My this person that works for me turned me onto this podcast the other day, and it was talking about how this is unverified, but it was still fascinating conversation. They were talking about how in, I can't remember the amount of years, but humans will begin to lose their peripheral vision because they're looking at a phone so much that we're evolving. I guess you could. I don't know if I would call that evolving. Yeah, devolving.
Wow. That makes sense.
It does, right?
Totally
I mean,
makes
it's
sense.
like, shit, go anywhere. That's what everybody's doing.
Narrow band of focus.
Yep.
Right. And if you look at most people's phone usage, like what's the average person's phone usage? I bet screen time's like 4 hours average.
I'll bet it's more than that.
Okay, but let's say it's just 4.
Yeah.
That's a giant chunk of your day.
Yeah, if you're up for 12 hours, it's 25% of the day.
So
right?
if 25% of the day you're just looking like this, that's got to have an ultimate effect on your vision.
Damn.
Especially over time, and especially if this becomes like completely normal for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't 1,000 years, man. It was like, it was
a
within
couple
our
decades.
lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
that they
makes
were saying
sense.
that would happen.
But we're an adaptive organism. We adapt, weirdly.
It's this stuff all just scares the hell out of me. I think psychedelics plays a role in all this, in accessing, other information.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a giant crime. That stuff's illegal. And it's limited. And it's limited into right now they're doing some research on it, and the FDA was going to approve MDMA therapy for benefits for veterans rather dealing with PTSD, and they stopped it, and they decided more tests need to be done. Meanwhile, you're seeing like real results from people, life-changing results, and there's a lot of people out there that need help, and they should be doing something, and it's not hurting anybody.
Dude, do you want to hear the best story I've ever heard from
Sure.
that? So
Yeah.
I got one of my best friends, former Green Beret, worked with him at the agency for a long time. He was blown up, survived like the worst fucking car bomb I've ever seen. Like, got up, walked away, dude's head's like right next to the car. Then gets out. I don't want to mention his name because I'm going to bring up some symptoms. But he got fucking shot in the head by a .38 special round in the middle of the road and survived it. And I've stayed with him through this whole process. Anyways, couldn't walk without a cane. Was bedridden 5-6 days out of every week. Hadn't had sex with his wife in over 2 fucking years. Couldn't go outside without sunglasses on because of the light sensitivity. And I'd been telling him, hey, you have to go down and like do this Ibogaine thing. Nothing else is working. I think this shit's going to change. I wasn't even aware of all this stuff. I knew about the bedridden stuff, but he was hiding a lot of that shit from me. And his wife called me, and so I got him piped in to this program. Went down, did Ibogaine, and did 5-MeO. Left his fucking cane there. Went home, banged his wife. Doesn't need the sunglasses anymore, and is not bedridden. And that was about 6 months ago. And I just talked to him the other day. And he's still like good to go.
That's wild.
And dude, this shit happened like, when did he? I bet it was 4 years. 4 years of like living through that shit. I mean, cracked skull.
One Ibogaine treatment.
One Ibogaine treatment done. I was like, do you think you'll go back and like see what, like if more benefits show up? And he was like, nah, I'm not gonna do it. But he's like, not unless I start to slip. But he's like, I'm like good. I'm at peace. I feel fucking great.
That's incredible.
You know,
imagine if there was a drug that could do that.
There is.
But imagine if there was a drug that the pharmaceutical drug companies could sell that could do that.
Yeah.
There would be treatment centers everywhere.
Yeah.
Are you suffering from PTSD? We can cure you.
Yeah.
Here at Ibogenesis, and then you go into that place and you get hooked up. It would be just like fucking these GLP-1s that they're trying to give people to lose weight. It'd be everywhere.
Yeah.
Everybody would. Everyone has stress. Everyone has trauma. Come on in.
Yep.
And they'd just be selling it.
Yeah. You know, and I mean, even mine. Like I haven't drank in almost 3 years now.
Really?
Yeah. I went down and did the Ibogaine experience, and like it was just like, have you done Ibogaine?
No.
Why not?
What was good about it? Tell me what it was like.
Well, for
I've heard
me,
it's very effective for people with addiction.
yeah. Well, there it is right there, right? I haven't drank in almost 3 years. But, I mean, it was, like, do you want, like, the whole experience?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I went down to Mexico, and I just kept having these guys come on my show. And first one was Eddie Gallagher. He was talking about psychedelics, and I was like, oh, no, that shit's for hippies. I'm not fucking with that. And then, you know, the one that really got me was I had this guy on, his name DJ Shipley, and he, like...
I saw that one.
You saw that one?
Yeah, it's great.
Dude, DJ's a fucking beast, bro.
Yeah, I follow that guy on
Holy
Instagram
shit.
now.
Like, takes Navy SEAL to a whole different level. But anyways, but yeah, he like went out of his way after we recorded, and he was like, hey, dude, like, you should really fucking think about going down there. And I was like, all right, well, you know, I've done like a ton of research. I've talked to a bunch of guys about it. I understand like how it works now. And so, fuck it, I'll go. And so I went down there because I just wanted to be more in the moment with my family. I got 2 little kids now, and so I went down there, and that was like, I felt like I was kind of like through the PTSD type stuff, and maybe not, but I just wanted to get rid of anxiety and be in the moment with my family and da-da-da-da-da. And so I went down and did the Ibogaine thing, and we took these pills, and like I didn't get a lot of visuals, but the first visual I got was I was just sitting there like looking in this mirror, shaking this fucking maraca, and my head's like, I was like, all right, this shit is not working. Well, then my head like it like split open, like a...
In the mirror?
Yeah, dude. It was like I watched my head like peel like a fucking banana. Like it was just like whoosh, and then another head like just blossomed out of it.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really odd. And then I was like, all right, it's definitely fucking kicking in. So I'm gonna lay back, and it was kind of, to me, like the whole experience, maybe, I guess I just lost total concept of time. It didn't feel, it was like 12 hours, but it didn't feel like 12 hours, but it didn't really feel like 5 minutes either. But I got like this life review kind of thing, and just had these TV screens. It looked like all black, like you're in space or something, and then these 2 lines of TV screens that were going in my peripheral vision. And what was playing in those TV screens was, and it was moving, like at kind of a slow pace. And so, like, I could see what was going on in the TV screens through my peripheral, but if I tried to concentrate on any one particular thing, then they would like all just disappear until I stopped trying to like concentrate on one thing, and then they would all appear again, and I could like look at it through my peripheral, and I'd be like, oh, you know, that was in Baghdad. That's when I was 5 years old, and my dad was like yelling at me, and that was this, and it was like, but it wasn't like I wasn't like reliving traumatic events. It was just like passing me by,
like a recording,
yeah,
like an old VHS tape.
yeah, and so I just let them like pass, and then I went into some other stage which I don't really understand, but it was a bunch of like these walls of stuffed animals, and I was kind of like going through this maze, and then like the last thing I talked about before I did the experience was China, and so then I had like this horrible thing about the Chinese invasion, but what came out of that, like it's like, oh well, that doesn't sound very good. Well, yeah, what came out of that, I lost 11 pounds in literally 1 week. It's a week-long type of experience. I lost 11 fucking pounds. It's also a heavy metals detoxer, by the way, so that's probably had like some heavy metals blocking me up or something. But the whites of my eyes like cleared up, like, and it wasn't just me. I like journaled all this shit down, and then I didn't tell my wife any of this stuff. And I came home, and she's like, your eyes look like a lot lighter, like the whites look a lot whiter, and my brown eyes looked like they had lightened up.
Huh.
Yeah. And then it was also like I had realized everything that I was ingesting that was poison. It was like this, going back to intuition, it was like this intuition of like I was like, you know, I didn't go down there to quit drinking. You know, it just fucking happened, man. Like I was just like, I don't think I'm going to drink anymore. And so I haven't had a drink in, like I said, just under 3 years. And
do you think you had a drinking problem?
Oh fuck yeah, man! I had a drinking problem, big drinking problem. But
you didn't think it at the time.
Well, my drinking problem had digressed quite a bit. So, I mean, I used to drink close to 2/5 of vodka a day.
Whoa.
Yeah. And, but, you know, then, and that was coming out of the agency. I didn't have anything to do, really. And you know, I was processing a lot of kind of what had happened over the past 14 years. I didn't have any friends, was severely depressed, whatever, man. Loved to party, you know, and that just, it was wake up, drink many bottles of vodka all day long, and then at night, you know, I'd crack a fifth. But by the time I went there, it was like probably 2 bottles of wine instead of 2 bottles of vodka a night.
Still, holy shit.
Yeah,
that's a lot of wine.
Well, I mean, it is. But anyways, came back and I just didn't want the wine anymore. I used to take Adderall. Was addicted to that. Didn't need that. Didn't need this Ambien anymore. Didn't need anything. And
cold turkey.
Cold turkey, man. Weed. Quit weed for about 6 months, and then and then I went back. But and even sugar, man. I quit sugar for about 6 months. And it was, you know, the funny thing is, man, like it was zero effort. It wasn't like I'm not fucking drinking and I'm not going to do sugar and I'm not going to smoke weed and no more Adderall. I just didn't want it. And there was just no urge. There was no addiction left. It was gone.
Wow.
You know, and
that's the thing they say about Ibogaine, that it uniquely rewires your brain.
Yeah.
And there's some sort of a scientific understanding of how it works, but the fact that it's illegal in this country is bananas.
Yeah.
I mean, how many people are suffering through opioid addiction? It's an enormous number. And if there was a thing that we are aware of that could help all of our citizens that are struggling right now. Listening to this, there's people that are struggling, and there's a thing, and it's illegal in this country.
Yep.
As far as I know, I don't think people are dying from Ibogaine. You know, Ibogaine was, it was very funny that Hunter chose this, but Hunter S. Thompson used that during, was it the McGovern elections? So it was like 72, whatever it was. And when he wrote Fear and Loathing on the Campaign Trail. So he created a rumor that Ed Muskie, who was one of the candidates, had a severe Ibogaine addiction, and that Brazilian scientists were coming to visit him and give him this treatment. And it became such a rumor, and it spread so far, and that it started affecting him. And he was giving campaign speeches, and he was denying it, and he was all sweating, and he looked like a maniac. And Hunter essentially derailed this guy's campaign by saying that he was addicted to Ibogaine, of all things.
I think Ibogaine would be impossible to be.
See if you can
addicted
find
to.
Hunter on the Dick Cavett show where he admits that he started the rumor. It's very funny.
Wow.
I fucking loved that dude. God, I wish I met him.
Yeah, me too.
He was a fucking maniac.
That would have been wild.
But the fact that he used Ibogaine was really funny and ironic, because that's the thing that gets you to quit addictions.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a fun experience, man. There's a lot of
Play this.
poking.
I couldn't believe that people really believed that Muskie was eating Ibogaine. I never said he was. I said there was a rumor in Milwaukee that he was, which was true, and I started the rumor in Milwaukee.
Oh, shit.
That guy, he fucked everybody up because he would do actual journalism mixed in with fiction. And, you know, he called it Gonzo journalism. He essentially started a new kind of journalism. It's like there was an understanding that some of this was not real. And you had to kind of like figure out what was real and what wasn't real. And he was just going to do it his way.
He was a cool dude, man. He was a cool
Yeah.
dude. That would have been a hell of an interview.
Yeah. Oh, my God. Yeah. But the fact that he chose Ibogaine is kind of funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because they say it's like the one that you would.
You can't get addicted to.
Honestly, I don't think I could get addicted to any of them. But
Yeah, I don't think so either. I've heard of people that get addicted to certain psychedelics, but I think there's people that do psychedelics to learn more about themselves, and I think there's people that do it to escape. And I think they escape reality with it, and then they get used to escaping, and then they choose that as their reality, and they do it way too much. I think there's abuse with everything.
yeah.
I think you can certainly abuse at least some psychedelics. But the benefits of them far outweigh the negatives, and there's a lot of people that are hurting in this country, and they should have access to all the different things that could help them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the fact that you have to go to Mexico to do that.
It's ridiculous, man. I mean, it's fucking working. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, it's working, and it's just like, why?
Why?
Why can't you, like, let us? I'm speaking, you know, for the veteran population right now, but like, why can't you just let us fucking get better?
Right.
Like everybody knows the 22 a day, you know, which is actually like 40 something a day. Veterans that are killing themselves, and this shit is a fucking game changer. But I don't think Big Pharma's going to allow it. I think that's what the holdup is.
Well, maybe that's something that RFK Jr. can help.
Yeah.
If they get into office.
Yeah.
If they get into office. I mean, but when you hear about the 5 kill teams and you hear about all this different shit that's going on, I mean, October hasn't even started yet. You got a full month of October, and who knows what the fuck can happen.
Yeah.
Leading up to the elections.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to let up.
I don't think so. Whoever they are. And not only that, but it is, you know, forget about the organization. Like, forget about, like, that there are people out there, probably like Iran and maybe state actors or who knows, that's trying to kill Trump. What about the fucking general kooks that have been buying all this rhetoric every day that he's a threat to democracy, and they think that this is the one thing that can give them meaning in their life, the one great act that they can accomplish to go out and kill Trump?
I mean, it's... I don't know, man. I mean, there's so much that goes into this, like that first shooter, right? What was he, 20 years old?
Yeah.
You know, 20 years old. Then you got, you know, Trump's basically been in the media for, about 8 years. I think he showed up, about a year before before the 2016 election, right? Kind of went in. So we're going on, 8 years now of the media just slamming him over and over. He's a threat to democracy. This is going to ruin the country. So if you take that 20-year-old, I mean, since he was 12 years old, that's all he's heard.
Yeah.
12 fucking years old. That's all he's heard.
And little kids have no ability to discern.
So is it a very well orchestrated act to kill him, or is it media manipulation that nobody really thought too far into this, and now we're seeing the consequences, of what that kind of pushing an agenda like that will do?
It's probably both things.
It's
probably all the above. And the fact that 24% of Americans think, or polled, obviously polled, because those are the dumbest motherfuckers of all time anyway, people that answer polls. So you always have to think of that, Like 99% of people don't answer polls. So out of that 1%, 24% of those retards are dumb enough to think that it's a good idea to shoot Trump.
Yeah.
And that the American people shouldn't be able to decide on their own. That's what's really crazy. They think they're right and you're wrong, and no matter what, they have to stop you from getting your vote. They have to stop you from voting in the direction that you are thinking you are going to vote for. It's just a scary time. Scary time for the Republic. It really is.
Yes, it is.
Like weirdly scary. And also like weirdly chaotic in the sense that this is all happening at the same time as the rise of podcasts and social media and new ways to get information. So more people are aware of how fucked we are now than like during the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
Like people were against the Vietnam War and, they're against fighting the troops in the Vietnam War, but they didn't really know what was going on. They didn't have like full access to it like we have now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know where this ends, man. I mean, part of me thinks, part of me thinks we're just going to end in some type of a civil war.
That's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it seems like it's definitely being pushed in that direction.
I mean, I think we're all kind of already there. It's just going to look a lot different.
It's a Cold War, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You see these states banding together.
Mm-hmm.
You see blue states banding together. You see bright states banding together. You see, a lot of governors aligning, sending National Guard down here to Texas, to try to secure the border. You got, these extreme. Look, I don't. Whether you agree with me or not, they're extreme. And so, like the abortion stuff, like you got states that are making these like super harsh abortion laws, like we're going to hunt you down if you get one and throw your ass in prison. And I think I can't remember how many states now have passed constitutional carry, is like 20. I can't remember. I think there's only like a state or two left that need constitutional carry. But I mean, I think basically what I'm getting at is I think the lines are kind of like being drawn right now, or the alliances are kind of forming up. Like, hey, let's pass these super red laws, these super left law or blue laws, and it'll drive everybody out of the state that we want, and it'll. Do you know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do know what you're getting at.
I think this is all like kind of happening naturally.
Yeah. I don't know what the solution to any of this stuff is. I hope it's a greater understanding that we develop over time where we figure out how to communicate better and work together. And I think some of that can be facilitated through AI if it's done correctly, if it's like a real open source AI. Where people can get a real better understanding of the actual mechanisms instead of like whatever beliefs you have and why the system works the way it is. If you could just have it laid out, factually laid out, where there can be no shenanigans, you can't deny it.
I mean, I think one way would just be having podcasters and journalists. I mean, how the fuck would you do this? But one thing on my show, and I kind of went off the rails a little bit the last month. I got a little probably more political than I want. I hate politics, man.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, the kind of
they come up all the time.
Fate of the
You
country.
think I like them.
Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
every time I dive in, I feel like I fucked a hooker on a rusty couch. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think this shit's gonna wash off me now. But you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
But anyways, where I was going is people have just lost the fucking ability to think for themselves. They can't critical think anymore. And, so like one thing that I do on mine is if I bring somebody on I'm like, don't say Trump 500 times on my show. Let's not say like, fuck the left, fuck the right. Like, let's not say these fucking Democrats and these fucking Republicans. Like, just give me the policy. Just give me the problem. Just like, let's just leave all that shit out.
Yeah.
Because if you leave all those adjectives out, then it forces people to go, well, shit, I don't really know. It forces them to formulate their own opinion because they don't know what their side thinks about that particular issue. Mm-hmm. Unless you're talking about abortion or something like that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you leave that out if you can leave those adjectives out, then I think common sense will start to make a comeback because it won't be so tribal. It will be like, well, actually, I don't really, I don't know where the party that I align with stands on this, so I'm going to have to formulate my own fucking opinion here. And, man, that would do wonders.
We definitely need more
for
people that
humanity.
are willing to do that, too, because some people just don't have the time or the interest to form their own opinions on things.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to just agree with whatever their side believes.
Yeah.
How did you get started in doing a podcast? Like, what was the motivation behind it?
Ooh. Well, I used to teach weapons and tactics, and I taught Keanu Reeves for John Wick 3, and then I got a lot of hate. I'll just put it that way. I got a lot of hate from the special operations community, from the 2A community, and I was like, you know what, man, like, it's a very egocentric community anyways, and so I was like, I'm like fucking done with this shit. And so I just started, dude, I didn't know what to do. I was like doing camping stove reviews, and I bought a bunch of fucking alpacas and put them in my front yard, and I thought I was going to be a farmer, and like, yeah. And then, but you know what I did? I was like, dude, I'm so fucking tired of like my guys killing themselves and going into depression and suicide attempts, and I got sick of the same talking heads on TV kind of documenting what was going on over there. I mean, it was a bunch of people who had never even stepped foot in any of those war zones documenting what happened over there. So I just started, and I'd built like, I don't know, maybe 250,000 subs on YouTube from like gun stuff. And so I was like, we got to document the history. 2, there's a major fucking suicide epidemic happening. So let's talk about some guys that had attempted, I tried to kill myself, but let's get some guys that have really been through it, dug themselves out of it, and let's, so it's we're documenting history the way it happened. We are talking about the veteran crisis that's going on and how people got out of it. And then at the end of every episode was, hey, let's talk about your business, because it's stories what sells. So let's do the whole story and get everybody like super attached to you. Let's document the history, talk about your vulnerabilities, what it was like retransitioning back into civilian life, how fucked up it was, how you ruined your family, how you tried to kill yourself, all that shit, how you came out of it, and then let's talk about your business. And so, I mean, these guys would come on and their business would like jet launch overnight, which I'm sure I just like doing it. I liked fucking helping people, but I'll tell you, like I started. It was awesome. I loved it. I still. There's nothing else I'd rather do. I started feeling a lot of resentment to my guests because they would come on my show and then they would like pass me up business-wise like that. And I was like, fuck, man, like what the fuck do I have to do to make a business out of this shit? Like I'm great at like jet launching everybody else's shit, but I'm not making any fucking money here and I got a family to support and this isn't going to work out. And then I don't know what happened, man, but then something just like switched. Like God just stepped in and was like, you're doing good shit. Like I'm going to bless you. And I just like hit a turning point. And now I just talk to whoever I'm interested in. But
well, you're doing a great show, and I think that's all it takes. I think you do a great show, and then the beautiful thing about social media and YouTube and all these different things is that people could just share it. Like I've had a few people. I think Billy Carson. I think somebody sent me that one, and it's just like someone would say, "Hey, you should check this out," and just send you a text message. That's such a massive advantage of YouTube and Spotify and a lot of these apps is that someone could just send you a show. Like you would really love the show. Check it out, and then you just click it, and then all of a sudden it's playing. And I play it in my car, could play it in the sauna, and I'm listening to this, and it's a complete new thing that's available anytime you want. You could pause it. No, I know it's you. I know, one of the things I like about your show is I can 100% tell this is just you talking to these guys. Like, what did you do? Like, okay, explain that to me. Like, it's just you, and in this world of talking heads, that has become a very refreshing alternative to a lot of people. And if you do a good show like yours, it just grows. It's just people will find it. People share it, and it just organically grows.
Well, thank you for checking it out.
Hey, my pleasure.
Why did you start yours?
I started just on a laptop answering questions, like with a friend of mine, my friend Brian, who I started with. We were just fucking around. We thought it'd be fun to just do for fun. I always wanted to do a radio show, but I thought no one's ever going to give me a radio show. When I was touring, doing clubs back in the day where you would have to do morning radio, I would like to do it. Because I have these crazy things that I'm interested in, crazy stories. So I'd come in, do these morning radio shows, and I'd be like, wow, what a great job that would be. Morning radio game. Yeah, I'd fuck up and swear. That wouldn't work. And then the rise of podcasts happened, and Adam Carolla had one, and there's a bunch of other ones. And then Opie and Anthony, Anthony Cumia from Opie and Anthony started doing his own show called Live from the Compound, where he's doing like karaoke, holding a machine gun, and he's out of his fucking mind. He built a television studio in his basement, and I was like, fuck, he can do that and do that online. Like, I need to start doing something. So we started out just doing this little and then also the Tom Green show. Tom Green had his own like internet talk show, and I was a guest on it long before my podcast. I was like, you just got to figure out how to make money out of this. Like you could see the seeds of my podcast being planted while I was on his show. I was like, this is amazing. No executives, no one talking to you. And then I actually even was in talks with the company that was doing it with him to do my own thing with them, but I just decided to do it on my own. I'm like, I don't want to do nothing with nobody. I wanted it to just be 100% me, just fucking around. And in the beginning, all my friends were like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you wasting your time? They'd come over my house, and my kids were really young at the time. So, like, in the early days, like, you would hear, we were in one of my spare bedrooms with a desk set up, and you'd hear, Mommy, she took my thing. You'd hear that in the background. The kids are arguing with each other. So it was, from that, move into, like, a little studio. We rented a little office space somewhere, and then moved into a warehouse and got a real studio, and then started having security there, and then started, I should have a fucking gym here. Let's put a gym in, and started, bringing in guys to train with, and then it just got big. All organic. I never did ads for it. I never did put a billboard up. I never went on other people's podcasts and said, please watch my podcast. Never did any of that. Never promoted it. It just grew.
That's awesome.
But it's all the same reason why yours is growing. It's just I talk to whoever I want to talk to.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I watched your show a bunch of times, reached out to you on Instagram. Like, what's up?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
But the way you do it and the way I do it is, I think that's why it's interesting. Because I can tell, like, when you're talking to that guy that was talking about the direct energy weapons in Antarctica, all that crazy shit, like, you wanted to hear what the guy had to say.
Yeah.
Like, you know, this is why he was on there. You know, this isn't like some producer has told you the list of guests that you're going to have for the week, and you're not really interested in it. You got to interview some fucking kid in a boy band. You know, like,
I can't do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it. There's
no reason to do it.
Yeah, you know, when I started, we started in the attic. It was me and my wife. We had these shit cameras that had like 30-minute timers. So Mike Glover was my first guest. And so my wife was like running back and forth, resetting these 30-minute fucking timer cameras. And I'm trying to run the sound and listen to what the hell Mike's saying. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. We're going to do this for a long time.
What year did you start?
I started, first one got pumped out Christmas of 2019.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's also a great example because a lot of people want to say that the podcast market is too saturated now. Like, I've heard people say that, it's too hard to make it in the podcast market. I'm like, I don't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I think if you got a good show, it's going to rise.
Same here.
And that's you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I studied the hell out of your show and when I was doing it. And you know, I wanted to, I just wanted to make it different. I didn't want to copy the red curtain and you know what I mean? And
you made it yours. Yeah,
yeah.
you really did. And it's that's the great thing about this. And we need more voices like yours out there, more different people that are doing the same kind of thing, you know, following their own interests, talking to people honestly, having these long-form podcasts. Like the one with the guy studying the UFOs, I think that's like 4.5 hours long, right?
Which one?
Is it, what's his name, John Alexander?
Yeah. I did one that was like
listening to
9 hours.
Yeah, John Alexander. This one is, how long is this one? Let me check. What does it say? Resume.
Yeah. 6 hours on YouTube.
6 hours. Yeah. Yeah. It's 6 hours and a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Of you talking to this guy about paranormal programs in the government.
I don't want to let him go.
No, it was amazing. It's crazy stuff, man.
Thank you.
Well, listen, Shawn, it was great to meet you. I really appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate how you do it, and it's good to become friends.
Hey, thank you for having me, Joe.
My pleasure.
It's good to be here.
All right. Bye, everybody. Oh, watch the show. Shawn Ryan Show. It's on everything, right?
Yep.
All right.
Cheers.
All right. Bye, everybody.